Welcome to the April 25th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. In the absence of the secretary, I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Finnerty.
Present.
Gloria Berg, secretary, absent. Craig Catalanato.
Present.
George Mutu.
Present.
Tom Neely.
Present.
Kate Fulham is out by special exception.
Yes,
Yeah.
she has excused
And the
absence.
chair is here, so we have a quorum. Please join in for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll go by the minutes, because Gloria's not here. Claire, was Claire here? Are we having this work session? Yeah. It's be on floating photovoltaic.
Yeah.
Yeah, please come up.
You want to close it?
Yeah, we'll close the regular session and go into the work session.
You want to just introduce yourselves?
Kevin Brown, I'm attorney for Next-Gen.
Steve Oney.
Brown.
Steve Oney.
Thank you. Sure.
O-L-N-E-Y.
O-N-E-Y. Yeah, no L.
Need some more chairs if you want to.
Wow, we have all of you. Well, we only really have room for three.
You have room
If you're
for,
not, you can swap chairs or.
Yeah.
room for two, and the rest can back it up over there. And then if you want to speak, just come to the podium. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So just to summarize,
So they,
You might as well.
you could be here.
Yeah, all right.
So Claire,
yeah, I'm just going to summarize. We
Yeah.
received a pre-submission application for a solar commercial facility on the subject property. And at the time that we were going to schedule the site plan, the pre-submission conference, the applicants had come and there was a lot of questions. It was probably a 20-minute conversation, but you were short on time. So you had requested that they come back for a work session. This was the next available date. So they are here to explain their application. If it is considered a commercial scale solar facility, it is permitted by code in certain areas. In this case, this is a former, or this is a sand mine, and sand mine is one of the opportunity areas. So that would make it a special exception application. The proposal is to float these on groundwater. And so that is something that's different. Not ground mounted, it's not roof mounted, that's typical what you see in solar. So we definitely, this is a new application to you. For processing, and I'm sure you'll have some questions, and the applicant's here to answer some questions. I would say that to get all the information, get the public inputs, we would have a pre-submission conference and issue a report on the application. That would be the process I would suggest in this application.
so who
Is
goes
that-
first?
is that the
Do you
area?
want me to pass it
That
out?
is the area, yes. That's the current ponds on the
That's
site,
current pond.
yes.
Here we go. Pass yours along. Well, thank you for having us here. Last time we were here, it was clear and understandably so that you didn't have a tremendous background in what floating solar is. So I'm going to start off with an explanation of what the technology is, try to explain that for you, and show you where the technology is applied to similar type situations in the United States, as well as where it's going globally as well. So floating solar is not a whole lot different than the traditional solar that you're accustomed to, okay? The only difference really is the way the PV panels and modules are mounted to support the energy generation, okay? In land-based systems, you have concrete foundations with racking systems that hold the PV panels in place. In this situation, you have floating structures which each panel is attached to and is allowed to move with the motion of the water, okay? So it's a little bit different configuration, but it has the potential of generating electricity on basically surface area of the planet that doesn't otherwise provide much other benefit. Okay, and go to the next slide. What are the typical areas that we look for when we're developing a floating solar situation? It's almost all exclusively on man-made reservoirs. Okay, in this particular situation, it's under an industrial application for mining and quarry water bodies. It's also used very often for water supply areas, wastewater and municipal water supplies, where they have these large bodies of water that are basically just sitting there, evaporating. Okay, next slide. Am I showing slides? No, okay. Like I said, the basic difference is the structure of the foundation for the modules. Okay, the way that the modules are held, that's the difference between FPV and ground-mounted PV. The stability is provided by a floating structure in a floating situation, as opposed to the racking system. Site preparation is much, much less once the water body is in place. Okay, we don't have hardly any need for modifying the ground around the body of water, other than the actual inverter system, if it is located on land. We can locate it off in the water, and therefore there's very little disruption whatsoever to get the conversion of the DC current that's generated by the PV into an AC current that can then be fed into the local grid. Okay, like I said, the two major components that are different in a floating solar situation versus a land-based situation are the floating structures, and the pictures on the left represent two types of floating PV systems. One is where each PV module is attached directly to the floating structure. Those structures are then bolted together so that it can move with the waves and whatnot of the water body, and that's probably what will be used in this particular application. The other is where the floating structure strictly is there for elevating the rack system, which is typical for the rooftop or the land-based system. It's just a way of keeping it up off of the water. Okay, and like I said, the predominant application across the globe is these floating little individual structures that hold the PV in place. The other piece that's a little different than what you're accustomed to with traditional solar is the way that it's anchored. You can either have a bottom anchor, which is what's shown on the top configuration on the right-hand side. You can have a shore-based anchoring system, which holds the thing in place and allows it to float on top of the water, or you can pile drive into the water body itself to hold the PV in place. I know one of the questions that you had last time we were here is how do you design for a storm or something like that, and that's how you do that with probably a hybrid type system where you've got most of the structure is supported by the land-based anchoring system, with a little bit put into the water structure to just keep the middle part of the modules in place. The advantages of floating solar, there's significant advantages over a land-based system. One, you're using a water body or a surface area that doesn't require, cleaning land out or grubbing, changing the landscape. It allows for flexibility of where your generation equipment can be placed, because we can move it around on the floating structure itself. It increases the energy production as well, because the cooling effect of water, one of the things that limits the efficiency of solar panels is temperature and heat. So as the summer sun beats on these things, they warm up and their efficiency goes down. In a floating solar situation, you get a 10 to 15% boost in energy production just by the cooling effect of the water, as well as the fact that the temperature over water is about 10 degrees Fahrenheit lower than it is on the land.
That seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Wouldn't the absorption of heat actually transfer the energy faster as opposed to cooler? That seems. Well,
that's absorption cooling. Okay, when the heat is transferred to the water,
yeah,
you're actually cooling the component that was warm.
Right.
Right. So you're cooling your efficiency goes up as the panel is colder.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Oh, because the energy is being
Well,
brought
because
down?
the efficiency of the electrical system inside the PV that converts the solar energy into the electricity actually warms things up. So as it warms things up, it lowers the efficiency of the overall system. So if you have a mechanism, the wind blowing underneath it or the direct contact with the water, that cools the PV panel consistently, and that allows it to operate at a higher efficiency.
That's interesting.
Yep. So, and it actually improves the water quality of the water body that it's on, because one, covering the surface area reduces the evaporation, okay, of the water body, as you can readily imagine, which saves more water that actually is not being lost to evaporation, but it also hinders or mitigates the generation of algae within the water body itself by precluding any solar energy required for the photosynthesis, but also for, the thermal penetration, which typically is associated with the algae growth within these water bodies. So they're ideal for water bodies that are used for water generation, and they're used a lot of times for hydropower plants that are coupled with water supply areas, because it saves a lot of water for the areas that are covered by the system. Also, the ease of installation. You can see in that picture how easy it is to install these things. It's a very modular technology, and it allows for just a few people to put in huge amounts of power generation in a very short period of time. Typically, 50 people can put together 1 megawatt of power a day. This project will probably take 6 to 8 weeks to implement once the equipment is there and the construction process begins. So it's a very quick process once permissions are given and we can start the project.
Are you expanding the size of the sand lake?
What's that?
Are you expanding the size of the sand lake? Are you increasing the size of the sand lake, or are you using the?
That's the hope.
Well, right now, the DEC permit that's been issued is 5 acre. And that's what is currently there. We have, and one of the advantages of this application is we have a complete application in for the 14 acres. So we've done the reviews on visual impacts, noise, bugs and bunnies, everything you have to look at. We've done all that already. It's sitting complete. As you know, there's been a lot of litigation about mine sites on Long Island, so nothing's being processed, but it's sitting complete. So we wouldn't have to go, all that permitting done to do the construction for the conditions to install. We've got the environmental reviews. We've got a lot of data. We've got 10 years of groundwater monitoring. We've been reporting consistently. We've been involved with the DEC voluntary program. So we have lots of data. We know the noise, and we know all those things already. Normally, even if you go to ORI's to try to, for the expedited reviews, what happens at ORI's is, yes, once it's complete, they're supposed to get a decision in a year. It usually takes a number of years with ORI's, Office of Renewable Energy, to go and get all the preliminary work done. It's sort of like the old PSC proceedings. There's much study and standard reports they have to be put up, vetted, put out. It usually takes, really, they say a year once you're complete, but it really usually takes 3, 4, 5 years.
Can we just finish the presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just answering his question, I'm sorry. I'll try not to
I
interrupt.
was just.
No, he went on.
No promises.
Okay, the water quality, I know that one of the concerns is about how it affects the water quality in a reservoir. These, like I said, are used very often for water supply reservoirs. And I've got a couple of examples here that we'll go over real quick. But the reason that they're ideal for these is that the material that's used for the floating solar support, the floats, are high-density polyethylene, which is, for the engineers here, they're probably familiar with the fact that that's what's used almost exclusively for transporting potable water anymore, rather than the steel pipes that we used to use. We now use high-density polyethylene for that, because it doesn't degrade and it doesn't contaminate the water in any manner. So, and that's what's in contact with the water in these situations. And there's no need for cleaning with chemicals, because the way the system is set up, you're on a freshwater reservoir. That water, the rain does most of the cleaning itself because they're at a slight angle, so the water, also in freshwater lakes, there's very little dust that's created around these, compared to land-based systems. The dust generation is much less, so you have much less contamination. There are cleaning requirements. You're going to have, there's two processes that will be investigated as to the best manner. The best way to do this is either manually with basically a scrub and a squeegee, like you would any other window, or two, they have, think of a Roomba type system, a robot system that can go over and just continuously clean these things on a regular basis. And it just pumps fresh water from the reservoir onto the thing, and then the dust and whatnot that's accumulated is removed. And that's how you maintain the integrity of the system and keep the generation capacity at the desired levels. These are two pictures of existing freshwater municipal water supplies. One is in Sayersville, New Jersey, just nearby. The other is in Orlando, the Orlando Orange County Water Utility. And these are created by two of the EPCs that we're looking at as potential contractors to work on installing this facility. The next page shows you there's two major facilities in New Jersey. We talked about the one, Sayersville. It's about 4.5 megawatts of installed capacity. The largest one in the United States on a municipal water supply is in Millburn, New Jersey, and that's almost 9 megawatts of power on a 17-acre retention pond. And interestingly enough, there's one under development in Cohoes, New York, along the Hudson, which is going to be the first municipally owned floating solar system in the United States. And Cohoes, you can look this up. I've got some quotes there. That's about a 3.2 megawatt system. They were looking for a way to reduce the cost of pumping the water from their facilities within the town and owned by the town, and that way they can reduce the cost of pumping and all the facility energy requirements. And that's on a 10-acre facility upstate New York. You can see the picture of that water supply. Projected estimation for this project is about 7 megawatts. If we get the 14-acre pond, and the energy production is about 10 million kilowatt hours per year generated from the facility and pumped into the local LIPA grid.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many homes can 7 megawatts?
About 7,000.
7,000?
Yeah, it's about 1 kilowatt per home is typical in the United States. And you can see the construction and moving the floating solar array around on a reservoir. That's actually in London, but it shows you how easily you can construct the floating solar system. You put it together on land and then just push it into the water. And part of the reason that you're unfamiliar with floating solar is it's only been around for about 10 years on any larger capacity. In 2014, there was about 11 megawatts of installed capacity globally. And over the last 10 years, it's expanding exponentially. I mean, the U.S. Department of Energy's National Renewable Energy Laboratory projects that by 2050, about 10% of the United States will be supplied power via floating solar directly. And the global capacity potential by 2025 is going to be about 10 gigawatts. That's what's estimated. So it's a technology that's rapidly growing. It allows us to install capacity that wouldn't normally be available. Long Island is a place where the land is very valuable and hard to access. When you have opportunities with water supply or water reservoirs that are man-made that don't have much commercial or recreational potential, these are ideal situations for putting in floating solar as a generation capacity extender.
I think you misspoke on the number of homes. Yeah, it's just, but I thought it was a kilo, and I don't know.
It's a kilowatt per household.
A kilowatt per household?
Right, so it's about 7,000. Yep.
So I think we all have some questions.
Sure.
I just have some basic questions. Pretty simple, mostly rooted in the environment.
Okay.
So the water that's in that excavated mine, where's it coming from?
Well, that's for the
It's
hydraulics.
from- Yes, we brought our
Where's it coming
hydrologist.
from? Come on,
Yep.
or go up to the podium.
Microphone.
You could go to the podium.
That's coming-
Your name, please?
My name's Scott Holsapple with Alpha Geoscience. It's coming from, it's groundwater. The mine is permitted to excavate beneath the water table, and that pond is from groundwater.
So, is there any circulation in that groundwater, coming up, going back in, coming up?
Naturally, the groundwater flow direction is generally from the north to the south, across that site, and that will maintain, so, the lake will be recharged generally from the north, and it will also discharge, back into groundwater in the south.
There's a slide.
Is this one of the issues in the pending New York State lawsuits about the effect on groundwater from sand mines?
That's one of the concerns
Mhm.
that generated a lot of opposition to sand mining. What I can tell you is that we have
Can you speak up so we can get you on
We
the
have
record?
a decade of groundwater monitoring here, which we can go through with you, and we've got the reports, the full reports are in your records. We submitted them in response to the town mining law that requested required groundwater monitoring. So we have 10 years of data, I think, on this site. We also are participating in the New York State monitoring program, the voluntary program. The data so far is good. The mining itself is not impacting groundwater quality. What the readings that we're getting there, and I'm not the hydrogeologist, I'll ask him to go through this with you. They're consistent with just what's in the local groundwater table. There is if you look a little further in the presentation, you'll see where the monitoring wells are. If you just take a look at that, and you'll see the groundwater flow. You have to flip a slide or two more.
Yeah, the last two slides.
Last two slides.
Show the groundwater flow. The first of those where you see the straight lines across the site, that is the groundwater flow prior to excavation beneath the groundwater table. Generally flat gradient, slightly dipped gradient across the site from north to south. The following one, that's the most recent data that we have from February, and that's shown on a aerial image from 2021, which is a little bit more updated than what's shown up there. And what you see is those contour lines which show the elevation of the water table bend inward at the north end, showing groundwater flow into the pond, and then they bend outwards at the south end, showing groundwater flow from the south end of the pond.
What is the depth of the mining?
What's the current depth? 400?
No, it would be 40.
40 feet, 40 feet.
So you're 40 feet to groundwater.
Yeah, 40 feet beneath that surface. So,
I know there are a lot of other questions. I just have one. Where is the location of the grid that you intend to hook into?
It runs right through there. There's a transformer on property already because they've electrified their equipment to try to be more environmentally friendly. So the dredgers and whatnot are all electric, not diesel generations. So there's already a transformer there. Obviously, there's got to be an interconnect study done to make sure that the transformer can handle
That was
all
my
that.
question. That was my question,
Yeah,
where the
that will all be done,
interconnect is.
yes. Yeah, that's not done yet.
So you're gonna continue to mine for 5 more years, is that correct? Till you have the whole site excavated? Wasn't that the understanding?
14 acres of 38 acres.
Yeah,
yes, ma'am.
and you have 5 years to do that? I think you said you had a 5-year
We think it would take
lease
about,
on the land?
it would take about 5 years to complete the mining and install the floating solar.
So that's go to the 14 acres. 5 years to get your goal of 14
We
acres.
get the 14, and, yeah.
So is the pond gonna be lined in any fashion?
No,
lining?
sir, it's just the sand that's there, and all it's done is go into the sand and the water table. And that water's just moving through on its normal course. It's, we don't change it. It does, Scott just said, it will change in the immediate vicinity. It draws down a little on the north end and radiates out a little on the south end, but that will normalize to the groundwater pattern there, just as any other site. We do have data.
Yeah, we
This, I'd like him to discuss a little, because I know there's concerns about groundwater quality. And I think Scott can talk to the 10 years of data we've got in place right now.
Yeah, yeah, monitoring has been going on at the site since 2016, so not quite 10 years. But we have over 24 rounds of sampling and water level monitoring data. We have been monitoring quarterly since the start of 2022. Mining intersected the groundwater table in December of 2021. So we've been monitoring quarterly since then, and we look at volatile organic compounds. That's your solvents and your petroleum compounds, semi-volatiles, which are more petroleum compounds. We look at PCBs. We look at pesticides. We look at metals. And since August, we've also included additional parameters as part of a voluntary program for the Long Island Mines groundwater monitoring program, which is run by the DEC and DOH. If we look at the data before they intersected the groundwater and after, we see no change. There are a few compounds that we do see on a regular basis. We see a little bit of chloroform on the north end, upgrading, at the upgrading property boundary. That's associated with the regional solvent plume in the area. That's not associated with activities at the site. We also see sodium. That too, again, is higher concentrations to the north and generally lower to the south. The north end of the property is bounded by the Sunrise Highway. And there is a recharge basin that collects water, runoff water from the highway at the north end. So road salt is probably likely source of that sodium. We also see iron and manganese at elevated levels. Those are naturally occurring. They're above groundwater standards at some of the wells. The groundwater standard is based on an aesthetic reasoning, so and taste. So it's not necessarily a health hazard, but they're also in line with regional groundwater concentrations, not associated necessarily with mining. So that's what we see.
Are the DEC, are the wells that you have mandated by the DEC?
Yeah, the wells were put in as a requirement of the mining permit that we need to monitor, and we're monitoring in accordance with that.
And you submit the reports
They're
to the
submitted
town
quarterly.
and to the DEC, or just to the DEC?
The requirement is to submit them to the DEC. I think you have been provided with copies through council.
Yeah, they've been provided. And the groundwater plan, I don't think we met, but when the town adopted the groundwater monitoring law, we submitted the plan, and we'll submit all the records. It just,
Yeah, I know that.
it never went into complete functioning, but as a regular part of it, we just submit the same records to the town. Really,
And then in the data, we see hits here and there of compounds, but since there's no recognizable pattern either in time, we don't see those same compounds every month or every quarter that we sample, or in the same wells. They're relics of the sampling process, lab, sometimes lab contamination, or just unexplainable. So.
Go ahead, George.
So
We'll
I
flip
have
a
a
coin.
few questions, if you don't mind. You might have spoken about this a little bit. One of the questions that I had was, any pollutants that could make itself in the groundwater through cleaning of the panels, but you kind of addressed that a little bit.
No, typically there's not any chemicals utilized. It's done purely with the fresh water from the reservoir itself when you're on a freshwater lake. Now, I didn't mention, but they're getting to where they're putting these offshore in the seawater as well. So, I mean, the cleaning in the freshwater system is typically just brushes and squeegees and, people out there doing it, or like I said, the robot Roomba type thing, which goes across the panels and consistently cleans them.
So you're looking for permit to do with the entire 14 acres. How many acres do you have there current? That's a pond? 5 or 6 acres, I think?
6, they said.
In that range, right? So in that range, right?
5 or 6 maybe.
Would you be looking at phase construction until you get to 14, or this is a?
We could,
Well,
because of the simplicity, but we don't, here's where we are right now. This is design plan. In order to keep going, we need to hire an EPC firm, an engineering, procurement, and contracting firm. We have reached out to Saltair. We have, so we know the panels are there. Steve's worked with them before. So we can get there, but we would have to say, how's it gonna work to phase it twice, have the team come out twice? Where are we gonna install the inverters, all that, we have to sort that out with some real engineering detail to find out whether we could. Now, if we could, it would be beneficial to us too, because the dredge runs on electricity, and we'd go ahead and start running off that. But, again, I can't promise that till we know what we're doing,
Well, I'm not looking for, I just want to know how you plan to proceed with this. If it's going to be not immediate, but certainly while you have a small area.
We would
and
definitely
go from
consider it if we could make it work, and the mobilization cost you have to contract to have the panels produced, the floats, ship them. If we can make it work, we'd be, the sooner we're online, the better. I know the town has a goal.
Yeah, that's more of an economic question than it is a technical question, because the reality is mobilization is one of the excessive costs of doing this, and you get a better price for modules, for PV panels, et cetera, if you can buy them all. The higher the quantity, the lower the price, obviously. So it becomes an economic question. Do we want to put these things and store them for 2 years while we, and it might work out that way because of the fact that, because they already are an electrical mining operation, it might make sense for them to have the generation there while they're operating, because it'd be cheaper than buying the electricity from LIPA. So it's a possibility, but that's an economic question that has to be fleshed out in a more detailed design and whatnot. So that's a good question.
Claire, would you need to know that as part of the application, how to plan to phase this?
Yeah,
in terms
I
of
think during
operational?
your process
Yeah.
of the site plan.
So your power supply back into the grid, you said you have a transformer inside, but is that sufficient to handle the power being generated from this? Or you
We don't know
what
yet.
it is?
That's got to be part of the connection.
You'd have to work on a power supply agreement with LIPA and everything else that has to do
Right.
with that.
Yep.
You plan at any point, is there any plans or thoughts about putting storage batteries on site to store the power when you're unable to feed into the grid?
Right, I can tell you no right now, just because this is a little time urgent, and to be blunt, the way we're financing, this is, I think in the study we provided, right at the start of this, there's the pro forma up front that we ran to see if this was possible to do. And it looks like capital expenditures at 13 million. Then there's operating expenses. So we did a pro forma on the, whether this was feasible. And to get this much energy generation, you know, how are we paying for it? The same way we paid to put in the electric dredge. We're gonna have to mine material to help us get to this type of number, this $14 million investment.
Can you speak to, or when we get to the point of an application, speak to noise concerns and any concerns about reflectivity? You're not far from an airport.
Yeah, and that we do know, in Bill's drawing, there's a context map in there, I think.
In the book?
In the handout today. It's a slide, this is black and white, but it's a slide that looks like this, shows the
Oh, yes, the
where it's
location.
located.
Yeah.
So what you can see is, all around this is, the closest home is actually 0.55 miles south, the closest resident. Around the site is basically storage yards, industrial yards. The Giaquinto mine is over on the other side. Across the street, there's an asphalt plant, a junkyard, and it was Hampton Sand. It's now, it was Hampton Sand. What is it now? What is it? Constructs, yep, Constructs is there now. So,
I appreciate, because you back up to or you back up to properties that are on Spionk Riverhead Road, and that is mostly commercial development.
yeah, it's.
But I
all-
still think the issue of noise,
Yes,
you know.
we would have those studies done, and with the airport here, we would definitely have to make sure
Yeah, that's a pretty
that
simple
we have a glare study done.
Yeah.
I used to
Right.
fly for the Guard, and we'd have to have a glare study done, if it meets the criteria. Now, these are flatter than most,
Yeah.
than
They're-
ground-based panels, so you might not get the
And these are
same
basically
problem.
horizontal, with just a slight, 5 to 10 degree angle, so it's not like, the ones where, you're directly reflecting the sun back. These are catching horizontal rays, so it's a little, not quite as efficient as, the land-based thing that can track.
Right.
But it is designed, so I mean, that's generally not a problem with most
Yeah,
situations.
those are
Now, as
just
far as the
two
noise-
topics I
Oh, they would have
want
to
to
be
make
done.
sure.
Oh,
you-
no, they
All
have to
that
be
would
done.
This
Yeah.
is very
But
preliminary.
as far as the noise
Yeah.
goes, one, there's no heavy equipment required for building these facilities. So you're not gonna have the noise during construction that you would normally have, other than maybe the trucks delivering the stuff. But I mean, this is a mine that has trucks anyway. As far as, we were here at the last one, stayed for that meeting with the PV guys, where they were in the middle of the community, and the lady had the recording of an inverter making a lot of noise. That inverter's not working, okay? The reality is that if the inverter's making that kind of noise, it's because there's something wrong with it, and you're losing a lot of money by not fixing that thing, so, there's not gonna be a noise issue. I mean, it obviously has to be a study done, but
Right.
we've been involved and visited all these facilities, and there's no noise coming from the inverters or transformers. I mean, it's
Okay.
just,
And all that was reviewed with the, this is one of the advantages here. A lot of those area impacts, visual, all that were reviewed as part of the mining applications that we've submitted over the years. So those have been vetted, not by the town yet, but by
Right.
the.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of floating solar is there's no aesthetic, disruption. I mean, it's on the level of the water, so.
Well, it's an opportunity area, so that,
Right.
so how close are you to the Spionk plume?
About 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, about 3/4 of a mile.
And that's running what? That's north-south?
Yeah, more or
Yeah,
less.
it's just
It's
southwest.
It's west of the mine, south.
Do you do any monitoring for that?
We monitor compounds that are associated with it, but, we don't specifically monitor the plume. And like I said, we do see in one well, a deep well to the north, we do have a hit below, meets groundwater standards, but we still see a consistent low-level, trace level hit of chloroform. So it's one of the compounds that
Mhm.
you would expect in that plume. But
Do you,
There was no
do you,
plume.
Would you have to get any additional permits from any other state or federal agencies for doing that? Is this, as a water body, is that at any time considered a wetland or a body that needs Army Corps or DEC?
No, that wouldn't be, because it's a man-made lake, just like a municipal reservoir. I don't believe so, I'd have to really.
Am I checking that?
look.
Because I know
Yeah, I'd
there's
have
been
to
some
check
times
on
when
that.
the Army Corps has taken jurisdiction over even man-made ponds and water bodies. And the last question, maybe later on in the project, a little bit early, but, you know, as far as if this comes on stream and you start generating and distributing power, we would like to know that who's gonna benefit from it. How do you work to make sure that people who are local are canvassed to get the benefit of this power first versus, you know, sending it back into the grid to be used, you know, west or north of us?
Yes, I think that goes into the interconnect, working with LIPA on the interconnect, I think.
But
Again,
there are
that's-
things set up to assist with canvassing.
Yeah.
You know, I know you have to get a certain number of consumers to subscribe to it, and it can be
Yeah,
canvassed
in
locally.
community
first,
solar,
and-
yes,
yeah.
that'd be community solar,
Yes,
yeah.
if we could.
Steve, right?
Yeah.
Steve, if you could reach out to Emily Sands. She is the co-chair of the CAC West.
Okay.
We've had a lot of discussions about water quality issues in the area. They're a good group.
Okay,
They're not gonna beat you up. They'll listen with open ear.
okay,
But I told you might be reaching out to give a presentation.
okay.
And just one other quick question. The Sayreville facility, you said 8.9 megawatts serving 1,400 homes? How do
That's,
we,
Sayreville is 4.4 megawatts. The Milburn is the 8.9.
okay, the Millborn.
Right, okay.
So how do we go from 8.9 megawatts to 1,400 homes, and here was 7 megawatts to 7,000 homes? You know?
That's 1,400 homes. That's what they estimate that theirs is servicing, because it's a municipality. I think that's, the 8.9 is, that includes all the industrial operations and whatnot in the area as well.
Water supply,
See, that's,
treatment
that particular one services that many homes, but it has all the businesses associated as well. Right, and some of it's internally used. A good deal of that power is used internally, like I said, for pumping the water, and the facility uses the energy first and then sells to the grid for 1,400 homes. That's the difference that you're seeing.
So Steve, are these your installations?
They're not mine, but they're the EPCs that we are engaged with right now. The two New Jersey ones are a EPC company out of New Jersey that probably will be the one that we engage with. They've done these are the biggest ones in the United States for these types of things. And we have engaged with D3 Energy in Florida, okay? But it's gonna be a matter of what makes the most economic sense, as well as, you know, who can, they both have immaculate reputations and have done series of operations on municipal water supplies, so.
But you're marine energy.
Yeah, my specialty is ocean energy systems and predominantly thermal and whatnot, but I also work for the DoD on assessments of alternatives for technologies within the Army. I mean, right now we're working on a project in the Kwajalein Islands and Marshall Islands. So we have a lot of experience in water applications, you know, in photovoltaic or floating solar is something that we looked at for Kwajalein as an option in a marine environment. Okay, so we have experience in these things, multiple technologies, ocean and land-based systems. You know, we participated in projects, seawater and lake water air conditioning systems that use the deep water for cooling sources. You know, Cornell University uses Cuba lake water. Those are the kinds of things that my company and we have been doing for the last 30 years.
But
So-
you've not ever done a sand mine excavation?
No, I don't do anything with the sand mining portion of that. I'm just here, I'm predominantly a contractor to liaise between the sand miners and,
And the owners of the property? Do we have
well,
owners?
the owners of the property as well as the EPC. So, you know, I'm basically the owner's engineer to protect them for finding the right people and whatnot to do the projects. So I'm not the one who will be putting this in. I represent the owners, and we'll reach out to people that we've got agreements with and whatnot to install these.
I understand. It just seems to me that this is all very premature because of the mining yet to happen. George's question about phasing was really on point, because if you're just going to do a 6-acre solar farm versus a 14-acre solar farm, the 14 acres are some time away, at least 2 or 3 years from what you said. And it's tied up in litigation. So I just wonder why the application is coming to us, or at least the conversation now.
It's coming because the town identified sand mines as a viable location
opportunity.
as opportunity zone. And then when I found out from Steve about floating solar, I said, well, that's perfect, because our applications here are to have a lake at the end of the design.
So you're
Now, if we-
representing the owner of the property.
Yes.
Claire, do we have the owner's endorsement?
You
Do we know who
what?
it
I'm
is?
looking at it right now and I don't seem to
Wait,
have it.
well, I think you, well,
This is
he's
the
right here.
application that we received, so if you wanna take a peek. I have the whole file here.
Did we sign it? Yeah, we signed it. There's the owner.
I don't have it in the packet. I just looked. I wanna
know
make
it
be accurate.
Because we sent it in.
And the owner is, just tell us for the record.
Next Gen Property.
Next Gen?
Next Gen Property Management. Didn't we send it around? Send it in?
You took them down, you got them signed, and I thought did you?
We delivered them to Claire.
That's my file. So, I'm just.
So there you
Well,
are, so
we'll
The
get it,
that's,
but-
application's there, but there's
Yeah.
no owner's endorsement, so.
okay. So.
We can provide you a copy of the owner's, you can sign it if you're the owner
Any questions?
and provide it today. That's fine.
Good, we're good?
Good.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
very much for
Thank you.
coming in and reviewing this with us, appreciate it.
What would you like to do
Thank
as the
you,
next
Claire.
step? You want to set the pre-submission conference?
I think
Get an owner's endorsement.
With an owner's endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems, I'd like to know.
We'll do it at the next meeting.
I'd like to know from council where the litigation is, because nothing's gonna move until that's over. So why are we processing anything that, and then they still have excavation? Which is my question, it seems premature to expend the energy and the review at this point. I'd rather, let's talk to council about it, I think. Okay?
Okay, well, we'll put it to the next meeting. Is that okay? And then I'll get an owner's
Or
endorsement in the
after,
meantime.
or after that.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Take care.
Okay, we're going back into the regular planning board. Anthony, you are number 221 Columbia Avenue, West Hampton.
Yep, so that's the one, the applicants are away, so we're just gonna do an extension to do the pre-application report until May 9th, 2024.
Extension to May 9th. Motion by Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. 90 North Sea Mecox Road.
I don't know if it's a stay on.
Remember the street? Ay, ay,
So this next one is 90 North Sea Mecox Road. Just so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. The applicants, although didn't withdraw the subdivision application, has decided to move forward with a change of zone application with the town board, which has been submitted and is being considered by the town. It's for workforce housing. This is property that's owned by the Southampton Housing Authority. We received a subdivision application to create 6 lots. And they decided they wanted to move in another direction to get more units for a change of zone. However, Janice and I advised the applicant not to withdraw the subdivision application Because if something doesn't work out on the change of zone, at least we would have had a report that we could, look at. And,
So we're gonna review it just as a 6-lot standard?
well, yeah, it is, unfortunately.
adjust your microphone?
Yeah.
back over there.
Can you hear me in this thing?
Are they going for multifamily now, or the?
Probably. Just to remind the board,
Yes.
they sort of came out with a plan. It's an interesting case because it's an all-affordable development, but technically you can still get density incentives as a result of the code, which, they talked about and they looked into. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They were looking at 6 lots to do here. And so, that's what this report is
Under
based on.
R20 code.
Under R20.
But if they get a change of code, then the whole thing changes.
The whole thing changes, and then to that point, you'll get a referral from the town board, and then the subsequent development of those obviously go through the planning board. So you're gonna get to see the project just on a different scale.
So we're reviewing it because the town board might not approve a change of zone.
That's the bottom line. They submitted the application, they wanted to withdraw, but you submit the application, you go to the public hearing, let me prepare a report, because then we identified the issues. And by the way, these issues then can be addressed during
They're
site
the
plan.
same issues,
Yeah.
yeah.
So just real quick, this is the aerials up there, 90 North Sea Road. This seems to be adjacent to, it's a residential zone, but it seems to be some type of commercial use with the storage of trucks and everything. I have no idea what's going on with the property. The CO doesn't reflect anything that's going on there, so.
I was gonna ask if there was something there, because I think it's been cleared, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, the property, so you have that junkyard or something next door, the subject property's been clear cut of all
Right.
vegetation. So, let you know that as well. Conservation Board's been out there.
Over 3 acres, clear cut.
They show a yield plan showing 5 lots. This one doesn't show it, but they did show a right-of-way, which would make sense. And then they showed, their preferred plan was a 5-lot plan with all flag lots, which didn't really make sense to me, actually. Particularly if you're doing a workforce housing development,
You need a road.
put a road that gets dedicated to the town for cost purposes and maintenance and the rest of it, so.
And then it becomes a major.
Yeah.
Major.
So I'm on just the second page of the report. They requested a waiver of the cluster plan here. There's no open space adjacent to this. It's a rectangular lot, hard to put a road in there and lots and to get some open space. But they did ask for the waiver of a cluster plan, but, with absent any vegetation now.
Is the 6-lot yield accurate for 3.19 acres, R20? Is that an accurate yield?
Not necessarily, because they didn't, I'm gonna get to it, they didn't put a park fee, a park area in their yield. So it could change, their yield. And I do note that in there, that their yield could change based on adding a park, for
Are they all
example.
zoning size lots?
What's that?
Are they all zoning size lots?
R20?
20,000, yeah,
And-
20,000,
And they didn't do a cluster,
and they didn't do a cluster.
but that's one of the code requirements.
They requested a waiver of it, so,
What did we do?
but we're
Oh, this is it.
considering it now. If you want one, we could always ask for it, Ed, but like I said, it's.
That's
they're-
common.
Yeah.
It is.
That Lakewood cluster.
Yeah. So they did waive one, and to that point, if we tried to establish buffers, which is what I say on page 2 here, as under the cluster, we don't have any vegetation to create, buffers from neighbors, from the
We
junkyard.
could
and
require a
everything.
revegetation plan before they do anything.
That's, well, it says here, the applicant should be required to put forward a plan for reclamation of green space and to preserve the few remaining mature trees in the southerly portion of the site.
Do we have a photograph of it? or-
No, I don't have the access to the latest ones, to be quite honest, but Marty's been out there, he observed.
Tom, did you see it? Were you there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't study it, but I
It's
did
clear
see
cut,
it.
though.
It's been cleared, yeah.
Assuming that we did a road, it would be a major subdivision then, regardless of how many lots. It would be an unlisted action under SECRA, and we would require a long form with any pre-application. They didn't show a park here, and this could be an instance where if we were doing a workforce housing development, maybe we would want a little park on the site. Some amenities, we did one up I forget the,
Not PC Richards.
yes, yeah. And we put some.
That was larger.
Yeah, you're right, that's absolutely true, Dennis. So I just put in there that the planning board may want to.
Yeah.
Little pocket park.
Well, with more density coming from a change of zone, it might be warranted in that case, so we'll see. So, you know, it wouldn't be bad to have something there if we're getting more density. We did have a public hearing in January, and it was closed with a 10-day, we didn't get any public comments on this.
I think you know what groundwater zones.
This is in groundwater management zone 5.
So.
They may have an issue. Is
Yeah, I was
5
gonna say, I
Claire,
don't know if the
Claire?
math, I don't know if the math lines up for.
The zoning, right, we have our zoning, which is okay, and then you have the health
Well,
department.
this is one of those areas where there's that overlap. There's this area, this is Hampton Park. Got this area, Bridgehampton Turnpike, which is R20 also, but they can't get through health department.
Gotcha. It could be why they're going for a change of zone to justify a different type of septic system, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they talked about that, actually.
Oh,
It's
okay.
very, very costly to do
No
that.
one's here, Anthony, for this application?
No, they're,
Okay.
yeah. We did our referrals. I haven't received any comments from the engineer to date. We did get comments from the Conservation Board. As they note, the property's been cleared that has negative impacts, and they would recommend reforestation and protection of the last trees on the property. Office of Fire Prevention provided comments, and ultimately they would require in some type of hydrant in a subdivision for this site, which
Where's
is,
the nearest water?
there's public water up there, but I don't remember where the nearest
What is that
hydrant.
road?
That's
can't see
North Sea
anything.
Mecox. Yep, North Sea Mecox, you
Yeah,
got
do they
Majors,
have-
Majors Path all the way then.
Do they have anything on the plans?
Yeah, I don't know where the hydrant is, but in any case, they're gonna require one for this subdivision if they move forward. Trails Advisory said there were no trail implications. Highway Department came back and noted that since the property is below grade, that a hold harmless permit be required for any potential flooding issues, which is a pretty standard comment. In terms of recommendations, I think the planning board generally supports the subdivision to provide workforce housing. However, issues of yield, clearing, access, and open space need to be addressed. Number 2, the applicant has indicated they'll be seeking a change of zone with the town rather than this application. It is noted the planning board approval of the site development will be required whether the project is a subdivision or a change of zone. 3 talks about the yield and park requirements, so they would have to adjust their yield map accordingly and provide the 50-foot right-of-way, which they do. Limits of clearing then would need to be shown on the plan, what little is left here. Number 5 just talks about a cluster plan with revegetation, just because you bring it up, Jackie. So if it's something that, you know, revegetation is one thing, we could always deal with that. If the planning board's not gonna require a cluster plan here.
It doesn't make sense, does
Yeah,
it? There's
no.
hardly any space, but revegetation plan, yes.
Yeah, good, so we did note that. And buffering, we would note then, I think for number 6, that any revegetation would account for buffering from adjacent properties, especially from the commercial one there. 'Cause you wanna protect,
And that property that looks like a commercial is residentially zoned?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, this is all R20 up there.
Yeah.
Yep. We do note here that although no comments have been received from the engineer, obviously, review and approval is required. We do note that the road, driveway, and then the home construction of this subdivision, or any actually site development, will require a SWIP. So I'll make that assumption here and put it in there. Compliance with the Office of Fire Prevention regarding the hydrant, and then approval from the Health Department. And frankly, I think that we're gonna be getting another plan coming in for you to comment on from the town board, so.
Yeah, you think that's going to move
I
forward?
do, but with these few changes, I would be, you know,
You are aware that this is, I mean, you can see from the aerial proximity to the other affordable housing, multifamily housing. It's on the lower left, it's as SCR.
oh, yeah.
That's the other affordable housing,
Got you.
so.
Which one is
So you're
that?
saying
Is
the
that Sam?
groundwater has an issue, right?
Yeah, the affordable housing right there, that's it,
Right.
that's it. That's the last one that went in with a fair bit of controversy. So-
If I may, Dennis, my understanding from Curtis was this change of zone application came out of his meeting with the CAC, who suggested that they go in a different direction rather than single-family residence, and suggested they go for, Dennis, whether or not that's accurate or not, I'm just telling, that's what was presented to me.
We've had a
So,
sprinkling of letters already on this, so.
Yeah.
so multifamily that would be two-story buildings, probably double the density, you know, maybe 12 units. How does the health department deal with that? Are they going to have to buy rights?
They probably have to put on some type of
sewage-
sewage treatment. And they have such systems designed for smaller type of developments. I know because the one we were looking at for Perk's property, his holdup is that he's got to put in one of those systems. So the question is, how many units do I get?
Right.
You know, versus what it's going to cost for the
Yeah,
system, so.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that, you know, he's got the issues, the clearing is a big one. We could
Well, all
adopt-
right, so how do we, since we're processing this, how do we get a re-veg plan?
Well, we're gonna note that the property's been cleared, and that,
But when? When do we require a revegetation
this is not an aquifer. It's not an aquifer.
Not the APA.
So any revegetation required would be for the purpose of reestablishing some type of buffers, reestablishing some type of open space. But it wouldn't be for compliance with APOD.
Prevent runoff.
Prevent all sorts of
Oh,
issues,
they
yeah.
have prevent- no, that's what-
So that's the reason why I didn't put that in there, is because it's not an APOD. So we can't do it as a matter of a,
50%.
yeah, we would do it as a matter of a secret type of issue. Yeah.
So,
I'm just recommending adopting of the report with the few minor changes that you
did we
mentioned.
have a public hearing on this?
Yep.
And there was nothing.
Nothing.
But Dennis is right, we did get a couple of letters, I think, about
We've
it.
gotten
Yes.
sprinkling letters already,
Yeah.
more to come,
Yeah, for sure. But we'll see,
regardless of the CAC.
100%. So I would adopt this and then we'll come
Would you
back.
send
with
it to us?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm gonna make a recommendation that on these reports,
Sure.
because you just flagged it, that we put the groundwater management zone in,
Perfect.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
so
You
that
can do
we'll
that.
know right up
I'll
at
put
the
it in
top,
this one too,
right?
sure.
And I've asked for clearing restrictions and conditions to be included.
Okay. Yeah, this one's not APOD, so but yes, absolutely, clearing
Yeah,
restrictions and
I've asked for
calculations.
Clearing restrictions to be put in as the condition, so we'll know
Yeah.
exactly whether they have 25% or 50% or whatever,
Yep.
Absolutely.
or
In this case.
or 100%.
Yeah.
This is
All right.
at the town board already?
Yeah.
Good change.
It's there?
Yeah, it's the Teresa Mason's review of the application, so. So,
Okay.
Motion to adopt the report.
Motion by Dennis, second by
Second.
George, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Claire, did Claire, we lose Claire?
Got Anthony. He's done. We missed it.
I'll just finish up with Anthony. Anthony, Claire's not here, so I'm gonna jump to 13. Hey, do you want to tell us what else is off the
Oh,
agenda?
Claire's right there.
Oh, okay. What else is off the agenda of yours?
nothing, actually. I'm good on everything.
No?
Oh, she's gone.
All right, go, Anthony.
70, good, perfect.
74 Priscilla Avenue.
74 Priscilla. This is a two-lot subdivision, what I remember. It's R15 zone in Flanders. You can sort of see in this neighborhood, most of these lots were very, very narrow lots at one point. You can even go back to the old historic map here. Oh, no, that's not the historic map, sorry. Here it is. So you can see, most of these lots were double lots at one point. Some merged, some didn't.
Look like old felt.
So this went back to the zoning board of appeals to recreate the two lots. They were successful with the zoning board of appeals. They received their health department approval. It's going right down the middle. So I was just recommending to deem the final application complete. We had a hearing at pre-app, no comments. We had a hearing at the ZBA, so I was gonna recommend waiving with a 30-day here.
How large are the lots?
They're pretty small, actually.
Yeah, 10,000 each.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the relief they got from the ZBA?
A lot width, lot width and lots.
And area, right?
Yeah, the lots are 10,000 each.
And area.
Yeah, lot area, lot width, yeah.
But these were pre-existing lots.
They were,
Merged.
you know, some of them, you can see some of these lots stayed like that,
Yeah.
very small houses.
But that's a standard variance.
Yeah, this was in this case, yeah.
Okay, motion to deem this complete with a 30-day written comment period. Motion by Craig, second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
5 in favor, 2 absent. You have the Enclave, Anthony, number 15, the Enclave on Noyak.
The board might recall,
These are the developers, right?
I guess.
they waived, yeah. The board might recall, we were looking at a 4-lot subdivision of the property, Noyak Road. It's got that 50-foot wide strip that comes up to the road and the bulk of the lot, in the back there, it is an aquifer. The board might recall, when we were looking at the subdivision design for this, they had proposed a 50-foot wide right-of-way, if you remember, right down to provide access. At our suggestion, we said, do a common driveway for the 4 lots, so we don't create front yards on either side here, because then that creates a problem for them. So, but it required going to the zoning board to get some relief for the lot width, for the width of the flag strips, which is what they did, instead of doing a subdivision road. So they went to the ZBA, got the relief to create the 4 lots. We're gonna have space on either side, so we could get some buffering from these adjacent properties, put a common driveway down the middle. There was no adjacent open space here, so the planning board, in reviewing this, said between clearing restrictions from the APOD and some buffering, perimeter buffering around the property, we could, I think, effectively address concerns, you know, that any neighbors might have. So, so they came in with the map, the 4 lots is shown here, with a 25-foot perimeter buffer around all of the lots, and a common driveway serving the lots.
Driveway is coming out where?
Right down the middle of that flag strip there.
What's the width of the flags? 10 feet?
10 feet each, yeah. And that's what they got the relief for.
That's directly onto Noyak.
And that's directly onto Noyak. I initially was recommending deeming this incomplete, but we do have the archaeology on this, which they did the digs, they didn't have anything. And secret was also done on this, as a matter of fact. So I have everything I need for this final application.
What's the clearing on this?
It's based on the size of each property. So that the clearing restrictions are not based on zoning, they're based on the size of the property.
So each lot then, what, can be
It-
cleared?
Yeah, it depends. It's gonna be, I think, 50%. I have to double check.
Yeah, the
Do
one
you
I-
have a report, Ed?
Not yet, this is just
Oh,
a completeness.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
just completeness, okay.
So I was gonna recommend deeming
But it's
this,
action deadline.
yeah, deeming this one complete and scheduling, we should have a final hearing on this one.
Yeah.
For June, what date did we have, June?
13th?
June 13th.
You have everything you need?
Yeah, absolutely. I only initially was making the recommendation because I didn't realize we did secret and I didn't realize we had the archaeology, so.
Okay, so you'll get a report for us,
We'll get you some before the hearing for sure.
please. I'm gonna write it down.
I know you are.
Motion by Dennis to deem it complete, final hearing June 13th. Second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
I got one more. One more.
He has one more, Claire, and then
17.
then it's all you.
Thank you, Claire.
17, Southampton, Deep Blue Sea.
It's a cannabis store in Southampton,
Oh,
a short story. So that's that. This is for, I couldn't control myself. Sorry. This is, everybody knows this site. This is right across the street from the condos on County Route 39. Actually, where the Carvel is, that Carvel site there.
Is that
This
a
is the
wait,
old
what?
nightclub.
Is that Tuckahoe Lane? It's listed as Tuckahoe Avenue.
Oh, it's Tuckahoe Lane.
Tuckahoe Lane.
It's Tuckahoe Lane.
Tuckahoe
I'll-
Lane,
I'll fix
Tuckahoe
that.
Road. Tuckahoe Road is the one by the college.
That's
Right,
That's right.
right.
I'll fix that, thank you.
I knew Lane and Road. I wondered.
So I think
You'll
everyone
never
here
get
knows
it.
the site. It is a nightclub. Everyone's familiar with it. Get a lot of complaints from it. This is the condo development right across the Village Green. They've put in an application to utilize this existing building and the existing site for retail cannabis.
Can you please tell us what's on either side and across the street? Give us a
Oh,
sense
yes,
of-
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Please.
Corners of Carvel.
The corners, the
Carvel, yeah.
Yeah, County Route 39, so as you're coming up, this is where we built those condos that are sitting right on the highway there.
Fairfield,
That's right. Yes,
Fairfield.
that's correct. And I believe Carvel is,
Right-
on the corner.
Right there.
No, it's on the corner.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's Carvel,
yeah,
Yep, and then the Hess Station.
yep,
on the other side.
on the other side, yep.
So this is an existing nightclub functioning?
You
Or
can
no?
call it that, but yeah,
It's operational?
it's operational.
And I,
Gross is what it is, but it's
Who is the
operational.
applicant for this? And are they here?
Yes, they are.
if I remember correctly, isn't there a cross-access agreement
Yes.
from the gas station or
Gas
whatever's
station through
there?
there.
Through
So
there?
I had been preliminarily talking with Seth and looking at some other site plans about cross-access, which we will ultimately address
Yeah.
in the pre-submission conference report that we're going to adopt.
It's a vital access, because people coming up from Hill Street
They're gonna cut-
to access both the Hess Station
Right.
and now we have that cross-access to the, what is it, the liquor store and the new.
That's true.
Yeah,
Right,
Yep,
that
yep,
whole
yep.
strip of
which
uses
works.
can get there without trying to get onto the North Highway. So it's a vital access.
Yeah.
100%.
That should be improved. Right now, it's these big, swales.
Yeah, well, we'll take every opportunity then
Yeah.
to.
Is the
address
parcel
site.
south of it empty?
The one with the building, and then you can see, this application involves those two parcels, the one with the building there, and then the one just to the south of it where they have their parking.
So that, are
That's
they
their
separate
parking.
properties?
What's
Is it
that?
Separate properties?
It's
The parking
separate
lot is a
properties,
separate-
but one consideration here.
Anthony, how close to Tuckahoe School?
That I don't know,
The applicant should
yeah, but the key is on those, it's, you can't be within X amount of feet
Right.
of a school and on the same road as the,
Right.
so there's the two criteria there. So it's one of the things we'll have to look at.
Yeah.
What I can say is, you have the special exception standards require 100-foot, it just says transitional setback to residential properties. It doesn't say front, it doesn't say rear, it doesn't say side, it just says transitional.
So should we make a recommendation
So,
that that be changed?
They're looking at that right now. I operate, it tells me 100-foot setback from residential properties. I'm just interpreting that as 100-foot setback from residential properties, and I'm taking the most conservative review. So the point is, they don't meet the 100-foot setback from those condos. So that's a standard they don't meet, so.
Okay,
it'll have to be
but
addressed.
also, I mean, to Tom's query, the parking lot's a separate parcel. We can't approve a parking lot in a separate parcel.
Yes, you can.
The one, it has to be, no, how can we do that?
It's one application,
It's one application,
two parcels, one application.
two parcels, one application.
Right,
They're both in the same zone.
yeah. So we
It's the same owner?
require merger of the parcels as
There would
part
be
of
a
We
it.
would
merger.
require, oh, all right, you didn't say that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Anthony, from the school, and we also want to get a measurement from the Greek church,
Yes,
too.
100%.
So the applicant can provide that, right?
Yeah, what we did on the last one, because it's a pre-submission, what we've been doing is those standards where we looked and raised some questions, what we're requiring at the time of formal, and we'll see what we get here, is a radius map. Show me the subject property and demonstrate that you're outside of the setbacks
Right.
from things.
That zone.
So we
Yeah.
do, we have been asking it for a pre-submission, but I will do my own, as part of my review, to say, look, it looks like this may be an issue or won't be an issue.
Did they provide the radius map for it?
No, because again, it's just a pre-submission, so the code only requires a site plan and some basic elevations. Yeah.
That's a very big.
And then work gets done, then we do the work to tell them, what standards might be
Yeah.
an issue.
But it's not a submission requirement.
And it's not
I
even
think-
listed as a submission requirement on the
Exactly.
formal, so we've been just asking for it as a matter of practice now.
So
So
what-
the radius map will have to be from the two
Center.
parcels, so really from the
Yes,
parking
yes,
lot
yes,
as well,
yes,
so
yes,
not just
100%.
from.
Yep.
And doesn't the US Open take over that Carvel building during the US Open? They put all the antennas up there, and at least they did
There's a
last time.
whole
It's a whole ring.
thing up there, I think it's permanent.
Oh, they had, that was,
That was the US Open.
yeah, that was a.
Come by every day.
Yeah.
Let's go on.
I know, I got the phone calls. There was utility, things were put up there.
Yeah.
The whole Carvel went in without.
And then, and then all these antennas, everything were viewed from the road, then we put this, so we required that they cover it up. You can
It
see
went in
it.
without any planning board approval.
No planning
And
board
now you've got the
approval.
big Carvel's portable sign there, which we would have, one standard thing this board does is, hey, no commercial parking in these spaces, you
Yep,
know, so you
yep,
got
yep,
the
yep.
billboard sign,
So-
of course, now we got the mobile billboard sign.
So
That's
who owns
why,
it? Who owns it? Who owns that Carvel site? That they just did something without?
no, they went for administrative review.
Oh,
remember?
admin,
They
administrative
went
review.
administrative review, fast food outlet, with no planning board review.
Shame.
I hold no power to issue administrative approvals. So I was gonna recommend scheduling the pre-submission conference for this also for June 13th. And we'll see.
Okay.
And can we get some of those pieces of information from them? Are they?
They're
free to
100%.
share?
I'll make sure I give
Who is the
you,
applicant?
is the applicant's representative there? They might be on Zoom. Hey, Kevin, is anybody on Zoom?
And that's an awful lot of parking for a store.
There's, based on the size of the building and the existing parking spaces, they're way over the parking requirement. That's not the issue. There is a setback issue, though. And if you remember, just recently, even though it's a pre-existing condition, once you throw a special exception standard, that you don't get the benefit of the pre-existing setback, because you just did one recently for an existing building. They were changing to a use that was a special exception, so they had to go to the zoning board to address
Oh,
that
so
setback.
you lose that?
Yeah, you don't get. you don't-
Pre-existing setback,
Yeah.
that's interesting. So that vacant parcel, is that currently, when it was a functioning
Nightclub, yeah.
nightclub, that was the lot for parking?
This is where
Because
they're
I
all
see some
parked.
striped spaces, but they're closer to the building.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like a, it looks like a dirt park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just, the cars just fill up here.
Anthony, they keep declining in, right?
Okay. So in any case, Jackie, we'll
Okay.
have the representatives there, but in any case, I think we'll get whatever additional information you need for the hearing, but we have.
So you
enough
want a
for-
pre-submission?
For
This
June
is-
13th.
Is this complete?
Yeah, they only require a basic elevation, basic site plan. There are no submission
Yeah, it's
requirements.
pre-existing.
That's the
pre-submission
thing.
conference, so.
Yeah.
We need to work on that.
In the event they don't have the proper setbacks, does the application just die?
No, they
They
go
would
to
have to-
ZBA.
Well, for us, we can't do anything further unless they had gotten relief.
They could go to ZBA even though they're acting under the state criteria?
It's a special exception criteria in our own zoning code. Mimics what the state says, but it is in our
It's
zoning
our-
code, so
it's
they would
our-
have to go get relief.
It's our code, right, that they-
Yeah.
And I hear that the state is revising their
They're making
regs.
some clarifications. I will say probably nothing that would affect what we're doing here, but I will, once I know them for sure, will come to the board with the
Can
changes.
Kathleen, yeah, it would be good to have a session with Kathleen
Yeah.
to talk about that. So you want to deem it complete and schedule a hearing for June 13th?
June 13th.
Motion by Dennis, second by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
I'm sorry, so I understand this correctly, because I'm not. So we're working on the state guidelines. Our local law can circumvent the state guidelines with the ZBA approval regarding setbacks? We're in the state guidelines, right? So the setbacks were established by the state?
Well, we created our cannabis legislation based on the provisions that the state outlined as it pertained to distances from churches, distance. They don't get into setbacks from residences,
Right.
setbacks under the zoning code. That's all under our zoning code. So
Okay.
whatever our setbacks require are from our zoning code, and In this case, we require a 100-foot setback from residential properties, and so they would have to get relief from that.
Now it's target.
Another municipality could have done 50 or something.
I'm sorry?
Another municipality could have said 50 feet
Yeah.
or 200 feet, you know?
Okay.
So we just chose 100 because it made sense.
Because that's the code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. exactly.
Claire, you want to come?
Yeah.
Puccio?
Yeah.
Who was
I do
here?
have
He's
one
there.
set of plans to be signed. You want to
I'll sign them.
volunteer later?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's good. Thanks. I'll leave it here for you. So Puccio, we were waiting for the town engineer to sign off. Actually, Kevin, I think the architect, Michael Rubenstein is gonna be on the Zoom.
He was here last time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is the site plans, there's two of them there. There's another set. Just so you have it. So, when we talked about last time, we had worked out a lot of the issues. We were just waiting for the town engineer who came back with a approval of the concept. He's gonna approve the final set with all the details on it. So I just have actually the decision for you to consider. We can go over that. You had mentioned the pedestrian walkway. I had added that in here. We can go over the conditions. Do you have a copy? Do you want a copy? You want to pass that down?
Okay, you're on Zoom with us. Can you hear?
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi.
Oh, you put it up there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great.
Kevin, can you raise the volume of that monitor just a little bit?
Mr. Rubenstein,
I'm sorry?
could you raise your volume a little bit? It's
No, I
very
think
low.
it would be on Kevin's side.
Oh, Kevin, I'm sorry. Apologize.
And then, so I was gonna go through the conditions here, does that make sense to everybody on this one? So at the bottom of page 1, it is a special exception used for the Puccio Road mat, 5,225 square foot. This is before washing machines and associated parking. So subject to the following conditions: approval for the DPW for the curb cut, submission of a covenant for the following. These are related to the laundromat itself, so I thought it would be good to have as a
Mhm.
covenant.
Yeah.
All process and storage shall be carried out within an enclosed building. All fluids used in processing shall be recycled, and the overall facility shall be designed, located, and operated to protect the groundwater reservoir from pollution. And 3 would be the outdoor storage is prohibited without further review from the planning board. And then the planning board hereby adopts the site plan, adopts the staff report April 25th, 2024, and approves the site plan application for the proposal as shown on the revised plans. The conditions are changes to the site plan, landscape plan. All plans, building, landscape lighting shall be revised to match the updated site plans. B is indicate the pedestrian walkway between the parking lot to the west and the laundry facility building. Does that make sense? I'll just make sure that it,
Between the parking lot to the west and the laundry
Oh,
facility building.
no. Parking lot to the east, right?
To the east, yeah.
Yes, you're right. And the laundry facility building, does that make sense?
And the laundry facility on the west.
Okay. And then I say note the 3 locations for the electric chargers. EV
Electric.
chargers.
You add electric?
Yeah. And then compliance with Department of Public Safety comments, compliance with town engineer comments. All lighting mounted on poles, the building shall be mounted no more than 10 foot above grade. All lighting shall be noted to be 3,000 Kelvin or less. And note the dumpster to be enclosed and landscaped pursuant to the code. The general conditions is project limiting fence should be installed. All HVAC systems, including mechanicals on the roof, shall be screened. No dust dome lighting fixtures, and all proposed lighting shall be shielded. Items to be submitted, condition of approval, submission of cross-access easement agreement for vehicular costs, and, it's gonna be in this case, is shared access. Oh, no, sorry, and shared access between the subject property and the property immediately to the east from the property owner. And B is future cross-access to the west. title cert, mortgage consents, town attorney approval, payment of an engineering fee, affidavits, success of plans, and a maintenance bond for the landscaping.
What about signage, Claire?
They haven't proposed any signage yet. Do you want any future
Any
signs?
future signs comes to the planning board?
Yep.
I talked about it a long time ago.
No, si-
Long time ago, I talked about it. Wait,
Yeah.
and then I.
you're not going to have any, but just in case.
Okay.
So, yeah, for your consideration.
I'm just trying to. Claire, we've asked now that in the, even in the draft staff reports that, where you have overlay secret, et cetera, that we put groundwater management so that we know what groundwater it's in.
Groundwater management zone it in? Oh, okay. In this case, it's probably 4, but let me take a peek.
So it's GWM zone.
Yeah. That's helpful with, you know, notifying people if they have,
Yeah,
Yeah.
a problem with their zoning.
I
Also,
mean,
think-
we just had one that, you know, was an affordable housing situation.
Yeah. This is not an area for that. That would be more located north. Here we go.
You have the
Yeah, this is
overlay?
4.
It's
So
4,
this is, you
groundwater
know,
management zone 4.
one house per half an acre, so this is a less restricted one than the other one.
Less restricted, but nevertheless, with all of these washing machines and rinsing and all the water
Mhm.
usage, they still have to get a health board approval.
Yes, exactly, and if they went over, they'd have to buy credits, and they're allowed to do that, but through board of review with the health department. yeah.
Okay, but we have that in here, about,
So, not.
I mean, that's an
specific.
important thing with a laundromat, right? The
Right.
Water usage.
So why don't I go to,
Under changes or general
how
conditions, or?
about page 5, K talks about sanitary sewage
In the report,
in the
Claire?
report itself.
Yeah. Oh, the special exception, yeah?
Yes, so, in the middle of the page, it says the sanitary system will be IA and subject to health department approval. And then I had the 2 standards, and then the above shall be part of the covenants. Well, I can add that it's in groundwater management 4, and I could actually also add, I don't know, Mike, do you know off the top of your head what the flow is associated with this?
Yeah, so we were approved for 200.74 gallons.
200,
0.74.
For the sanitary flow.
okay,
And then we have a DEC approval for the reclaim system.
okay.
So we'll spell that out, Claire.
Yeah, that seems low to me.
It seems low.
Yeah.
For 64 washing machines?
No,
What's his
that's
name?
for the sanitary flow that was approved by the health department.
Mm-hmm.
But what about,
DEC permit, one second. So the DEC, we have a discharge of 17,200 gallons, treated laundry wastewater. And that goes into an on-site treatment that's been approved by the DEC.
17,000? Can you speak up?
17,200 gallons,
Of discharge,
correct.
approved by the do we have that documentation? Does Claire have that?
If not, we can provide.
Claire,
that
you
to
have those
Sure.
approvals
Why
from the
don't I
D?
have it,
the
have to be
Ds?
subject to approvals prior to signature?
Yeah,
Okay. You already received the approval, so no problem, right, providing it to us?
Yeah.
Yep, we have the approval.
So did the health department and DC approvals. Great.
So that
We
get,
have health department for the waste, and we have DEC for the reclaim.
great.
so
That's-
does the reclaimed water get injected back through a well or something into the groundwater?
I'm not well versed on reclaim systems for laundromats. This was prepared by H2M, and they received, they got the approvals.
So,
So it was an industrial species groundwater discharge. So I imagine some of it is going into the ground.
It doesn't sound as though that goes into the sanitary system, that sounds like it's separate.
Yeah, can we have some further clarification on that?
We can get you the permit.
So it's not all going into a recharge, it's going, some
Yeah, the
going
plan
into the
says-
ground?
According to the description from the DEC, the proposed discharge is located within an area designated as a sole source aquifer, and the following water purveyors have been identified as having service areas within a 3-mile radius of the applicant's facility, the Hampton Bays Water District. It says the DEC has made tentative determination to approve this application for a new discharge of 17,200 gallons per day of treated laundry wastewater to groundwater from a primary treatment plant at the proposed laundromat. So I'm assuming that the water gets treated before it gets discharged. That's part of the.
Yeah, I think that was.
That's your understanding too, Claire, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think this is a very critical ingredient in this laundromat. We've not had one before.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just gonna leave that in special exception standards, Claire, or are you gonna include something in the,
I think it related to the sanitary and treatments, that it would be
In
appropriate in
K.
K. We'll have those 2 permits,
he's gonna send you those, right?
yes, as a condition. Any other questions?
No, well, one more last question on it. The way George had a question, have they been reviewed by anybody in the town?
The,
The discharge and the flow and all of that, has anybody looked at that? And who would? The engineer?
no, I don't
The
think
D-
so. No, that would be just that prior to construction, they would need us, they're getting their approval from the health department, and they're getting their approval from this, Speedy's DEC permit for the accept, over a certain amount of flow.
So we'll indicate that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That prior to,
Has the ARB reviewed, approved it?
The ARB approved the elevations?
Elevation?
yeah,
Yes.
the building is nice. And did you ever get to put some solar on there, as we had requested? That
Yeah, we're gonna add solar to the roof. Yep.
you are, so,
Good.
Crazy not to.
can we do that under, do you want one of the special exception, Claire?
Well, I can mention it under our energy parts for the site plan.
Yeah,
Which
that the applicant has agreed to install solar, roofing solar.
Right. Yep,
That's under N, right?
and, yep. Do you want it indicated, like a note on the plan? Okay. So I'm gonna add that as a note, as a condition.
Good.
So they'll revise the west elevation on page 82.1.
Even a note on the site plan probably would be fine, right, rather than on the elevations?
Well, we don't know how much of the roof is gonna be covered,
That's
or
the west elevation, that's where you're gonna have
is
the
the
solar
west
panel.
too?
Yeah, if you indicate it on there, then you could go straight to get a building permit for it.
Yeah,
So, note on site plan,
it's page A2.1.
okay?
Hmm. Any other questions? Any other details, questions? No, George, Tom?
No, I mean, according to the plans, what they're showing is, so you have your sanitary system on the side of the building, and there is however the waste from the washing machine is being treated is then put back into four 12-foot deep leaching pools to go back in the groundwater.
Okay,
So that's where the speed equipment comes in for 17,000.
17,000 gallons.
70,000 gallons per day or whatever they do.
All right,
But that's
so it
separate from the sanitary system.
Okay, that's good.
That makes sense.
All right, so what's our action plan?
With those changes, you'd be giving them conditional approval.
For the draft for the report, right? We're adopting the report
Report and the,
as amended
and the decision.
and the
Yeah.
decision.
Yep.
So motion by Craig, second by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. You're done.
Done.
Happy laundry.
And then my next one is off the agenda.
The Willow Mill Square Associates,
Yes.
Claire? That's off.
Yes.
And
We're going in order. Brenna has the next one, right?
yeah, Brenna? Is the Southampton Farm Supply the new beautiful building that they restored from the barn? God, is that beautiful.
Great.
That looks
What's
so
that?
fantastic. The big old
Oh,
potato
God.
barn? It's
Different,
gorgeous. It's so beautiful,
Yeah. It worked out well.
really
Really good.
beautiful.
He's here. He's got a couple more. He's got a couple little things to do. So. Or cleanup. There's always
Clean up
cleanup.
stuff.
But the it's my color tone, beautiful. I
Stone.
thought when they took out that dirt, that the whole thing was going to collapse.
Yeah, no.
Down to the
It's,
bridge.
Nice to see something can turn out right.
Exactly,
Got enough of the,
It's
the
disaster.
other guys, it's a
Right.
disaster.
Brenna?
Hi, how are you?
Very premium.
This is 1004 Montauk Highway, the medical use building on the corner of Willow and Montauk Highway.
Right.
We went through the report last time,
Right.
and so we're here to adopt it. I did make some revisions that we discussed last time,
Okay,
and the applicant couldn't be here, but they were generally fine with all the changes you made at the last time. So if there's
and the
anything-
suggestion to reorient the building.
Yes,
Great,
most certainly.
great.
That's a
makes all the
substantive
sense in
change.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sorry?
That we go and take those. as
Yeah, yeah, so
substantive
that's a big one to do before anything else goes forward.
change. So, is it up for approval?
It is, today's the action deadline. We can just skip to the highlighted areas if you'd like.
It's a kind of an open-ended, if they're gonna reorient the building though, it's kind of an open-ended approval.
Yeah, I have it at the top as the items to be submitted, that the planning board requires a work session with the applicant prior to submittal
That's
of
what
the
I had asked you
formal.
in my email.
yeah.
Why,
But I think that,
why do we have to do this now as opposed
Are they
to,
an action deadline?
it is, yeah, there's a deadline to adopt it.
they can give an extension?
Yeah.
Could we do
Is
that?
the applicant here?
The applicant isn't here, I was gonna check with Claire. I think that it
Okay,
would almost
Claire.
suspend their application. It's really, we're approving the report, but I guess
No, but
if
the
they,
report
if
is based on the
the
old
current structure,
site
yeah.
plan and.
If they reorient anyway and there's significant changes, the board could make them sort of do the pre-submission all over again.
Yeah, but why?
We're in the,
Yeah.
we're in a position of having to prove a site plan that we're not favoring.
Yeah,
So I mean, if they could either give us an extension, we could
Just
deny
an
it without prejudice.
mhm.
But an extension is the most benign way to go.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure they'd give us an extension.
Yeah, maybe. I
You
mean,
could give them a
I
call.
think we talked about, or they talked about potentially doing it in as early as May. I don't know if, how realistic that
End
is,
of
but I
May,
could ask
May
them.
23rd.
Yeah, maybe May 23rd,
Yeah.
potentially early June.
Who's
Yeah.
representing them, do you know, Peter?
It's Bowler Engineering.
The architects, right?
Yeah, there's
An
the
architect,
engineer,
yeah. They were very cooperative.
Yeah.
But
I think they would be fine with that. I just want to make sure we're okay
Why are we
with.
doing this?
Yeah, we could just table, I don't think we'd be in a default. We could just
She has to
table.
get it, she has to get an extension.
an extension, yeah.
Extension.
Well, if we don't act today, highly unlikely they would pursue default.
Claire, we don't want to move forward with this until they submit a revised
I
plan.
can ask the applicant for.
They're contemplating a
Get
major
an
redesign.
extension.
We'd be in a position of approving a site plan that we're not in favor of.
You're not approving anything, you're giving them guidance. If you can
Oh, is
be
this
very.
pre-submission? Oh,
Pre-submission.
pre-submission, oh, okay.
You're just, you're just giving them guidance. If you didn't like the architecture, you can say,
Yeah,
the architecture's
okay.
not in
I
keeping
thought it
with
was on a
watermill.
We should call it a
And then-
pre-submission guidance report.
Yeah, right, exactly,
Yeah, that's,
Guidance.
there it is, right at the top of your report. You know?
I know, that's why I said we could always go back
Okay,
to
no, this is
pre-submission
where we tell
if
them.
anything is
Oh,
completely
all
rearranged,
right.
but.
Change, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
highlighted all of our questions?
I did, and
Send it-
anything that was changed, so I added the, with the items to be submitted, I added the requirement of the, work session before site plan application.
Mhm.
In zoning, I just clarified the language because I just made it clear that they're opting for the average, setback within, the sites that are within 200 feet rather than the 50-foot setback. But they're still, within the pyramid law on both the north and the south ends of the structure.
But that, when they reorient, that's not gonna be.
Yeah, and it wasn't their intention to be within the pyramid, non-conforming, they would consider decreasing the height and changing the architecture even. Under SECRA, I called for phase 1B to be required, but I added phase 1A and 1B. Under cross-access, I corrected, I had a typo, I said the site to the east, but it's really to the west. And the planning board recommends the cross-access to the north lot only, as the use to the west includes trucks and car repair services and should be kept separate. North access should occur at the northwest corner of the proposed parking lot in front of the dumpster enclosure location. And again, that you're requiring the work session mainly to review cross-access circulation and the architecture as well. Traffic, the intersection maintaining, I just clarified the language there because the applicant is proposing that they're in alignment with the driveway to the south of Willow Road to that, the White House on the corner.
So they're exiting on Willow, right?
They're exiting, yeah, ingress
Exiting
egress is
the-
on Willow,
yeah.
and they're maintaining alignment with the driveway across Willow.
Across the road.
Yeah. There were no changes in the 5 through 9, or 5 through 8, and again, the architecture facades, I added that the planning board finds the proposed architecture modern and inconsistent in scale and style with the historic character of Watermill. And additionally, the orientation of the building on the site is lacking the relationship or presence along Montauk Highway. And the board requires a work session. And going down to item 15, sanitary, I added there that their allowable flow calculation exceeds the daily flow by 76 gallons per day. The board has to add that. Mechanicals, I clarified that no equipment shall be located on the roof of the proposed building. And then finally, a public hearing will be required, and a work session held with the board.
So you want to give them a potential possible date in May or June? What do you?
Maybe I should talk to them first, for a work session, you mean? Yeah, I'll clarify with him if he's still on board with May or June, and then I could,
Put it on the
maybe,
agenda.
yeah, maybe we talk about it at a staff meeting, put it on the agenda, so they can come in.
Great.
I know they're gonna have to put some stuff together with their architect, so they'll
Yeah.
certainly need a little bit of time.
Okay, any other changes?
No.
Okay, motion to adopt the pre-submission guidance report. Motion by Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
5 in favor and 2 absent. Prenda, we're adding the groundwater management plans.
Yeah, I made a note too.
Yeah.
Were we gonna ask to add the clearing restrictions on the site also?
Yeah, we're going to try to include wherever we can, right in the front, the clearing restrictions. Is it 25%, is it 50, is it no clearing restrictions, whatever, so that we know right up front.
Oh,
We talked about,
So putting, if it was like APOD, you would put in parentheses
50%,
25%
25%.
or 50% or
Exactly.
whatever,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But if it's no clearing restrictions, you would just say none, so as a bullet at the front of the
Yeah,
report.
yeah,
Okay, so
one of
those
these
two
bullets. Claire, did you ever get us the policy about the traffic reports?
That was Teresa, when I was
Was
in
it?
here.
Oh,
I heard about it
yeah, yeah,
when
yeah.
I was away.
When is she's away, right?
Yeah, she's away this week.
Can I just jump back to the
Sorry.
prior blurb with the clearing restrictions? I think it's maybe beneficial to the APOD. I think when you put something like none, you don't want to position, a lot of times we try to retain existing vegetation as buffers and everything. You don't want some waving paper saying, look, it says none, I have no restrictions here.
Yes.
You know,
What's
prior
another word?
application.
So
So
what we
APOD definitely,
say- What we say is overlays, right?
yeah, APOD.
So we could say overlays, which doesn't connotate clearing or anything
General.
like that. And we do say APOD, and we would say agricultural overlay
Yeah.
district. So when we say APOD, we could say 50% clearing or something in parentheses next to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rather than just say, I want to avoid having to say
Yeah.
no clearing restrictions.
Yeah.
Because it could possibly conflict in
With
an
some
approval time. It's like,
intention
look,
in
you
the
know,
Shinnecock
hold up the
Hills
report.
or something.
So,
Undetermined on there. So none.
Undetermined.
good point.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, we voted on that, right?
Yep.
Okay, good.
So my next
Claire.
one is 5.
Southampton Farm Supply?
Yes.
Yeah?
So in this case, I do site inspections at the end of the process, and you see the building is coming up very nicely.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
There's always one or two things that didn't quite match up to the site plan,
Well,
so
what
I'm
are
gonna go back to
they?
you.
We'll
But
take care of those.
yeah, I wrote it as one resolution, I'll give it to you, that we consider both this modifications and, the maintenance bond, which the maintenance bond's gonna be set for $35,000, that's pretty standard. But if you want two resolutions, you can do that.
Do we have?
I have them.
Do you have the report?
Here, I
You
have.
wanna come up? So we can congratulate you on a beautiful building,
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for all your
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, looks great.
but it's really stunning
Really
when you
good.
drive by. It really worked out well.
Set an example for other people in the town to
I
Kids
hope
definitely
so.
have.
restore existing buildings,
I
Yeah.
hope so.
Great,
so.
really good.
Thanks
We
for all
were
your help.
fearful
It's
that when you
been,
took out that dirt on the sidewalls, it was
This is the
gonna
original one?
collapse.
This is the original site plan?
The original site plan,
Okay.
and here's the new as-built site.
So we'll talk about the modifications. So with the original site plan, this was the layout, even with, the vegetation on this side, you know, he was always open to more vegetation on the property, so this turned out really well, along the landscaping here. But there was two internal, areas for internal landscaping, that was the condition of approval, before I unilaterally said, it's fine, you didn't have them. In this one area, this area closer to where the trucks access the spots, they couldn't make it work because of the grades, having trucks come into that. In this area also the same, right? I don't wanna speak for you,
And
but.
actually, that area, it shows it's 700 square feet, but we changed the radius on this coming in, so you're only losing about 250 square feet or 200 square feet of that, but we revegetated behind that much heavier. So your access view in there is actually, it's better planned.
Yeah, what's not apparent on the plan is,
Did you
that's.
identify yourself?
oh,
I'm sorry,
Dave-
both of
sorry,
you? I'm
Dave
sorry.
Harvey, D&D Harvey Architects.
And then,
And Steve Mazeneski.
that's okay.
So what's not clear when you just look at this is the parking area and this area we're discussing is much lower than the perimeter landscape that as you come down the 39. So in other words, it's actually, there's a large hill, and then the planted plan is beyond that and down.
And down.
Almost 14, 15 feet. So
Yeah.
it's basically problematic for the use of the yard in that corner.
Okay.
So,
We just re-engineered the turn, and when we were building it, it just when we were laying it out, we're like, this is
Much better.
not gonna work.
It was never a requirement, it wasn't over the 50 parking spaces, it was just that you were close, so we were 40 something, and you thought internal landscaping would soften it. But it's well screened, as they're saying, from this side, you're not gonna see it. And this side, it's a combination of natural vegetation and nice landscaping, so. They'd like to eliminate those conditions. The only other thing is that the top was supposed to have cupolas that they were going to manufacture and put on. What they did instead is take the old metal vents and
We
refurbished
basically,
them.
there were
Refurbished
7,
them?
we were able to
We refurbished
restore
them.
3
That
out of the
was great.
7.
Wonderful.
and
So
put
he's
them
got
back
a
on.
picture, I've got a
Yeah,
picture.
that's
We
true.
all know it, yeah.
That was probably the hardest thing to get refurbished on the whole entire
And you
building.
can,
Really,
Yeah.
the
you can
cupolas?
scroll to the left, and there's a couple more to the right.
Meant to print it and it wouldn't come through the
Let's see if
town
I-
website, let's see.
Are they right
This
there? Let's
is,
go the other
probably
way.
look now.
Oh, nice.
It's nice.
Yeah,
I'll let you pull them up.
drove
I-
by today.
there's
The
only
place
Yeah,
one.
great.
it does look
It
good.
really looks nice up from 39.
The color of
Oh.
the stone is just great. I love
Yeah, I
that
hand picked
page.
that up in Massachusetts.
Did you?
Put it down and
Yeah.
hand cut every single stone.
Did
I
you?
was driving past the site about 2 weeks ago, my wife, she goes,
Ooh, that
So
was
if I don't know if you
pretty.
recall, there used to be 7 rusted, 2 were falling in.
Yes,
Yeah.
We were able to take the 7 and rebuild 3.
3.
And then that's instead of,
Instead of
the
more.
originals were just kind of like Connecticut-style cupolas. And actually
You don't
covered
think it
it
looks
was,
skimpy with just a 3?
no, they're substantial. I mean,
Yeah.
they're huge. So,
So this is the back. I've never seen the back. The staircase that goes, no.
Yeah, come in and get a tour.
Yeah. I'd love to.
So this photo here makes it all worth it. That's Connie Roscoe, 94 years old.
Oh, yeah.
A couple weeks ago in there.
What did he
Oh,
have
my
a
God,
heart
he must be
attack?
so.
He was crying. He was so excited, yeah.
Oh,
That's nice.
Yep,
that was
Leo
his barn
passed.
for many
Yeah.
years.
they built it.
Yeah.
Leo passed a few years
Yep,
back.
yep. Yeah, he was
He
really
was happy.
excited.
Probably couldn't believe it, right?
He can't. He's so
No,
excited.
I
Did they
mean,
build it, or was there, it was their family, I know it was the Roscoe
They-
farm.
It was
Built
his
it, yeah.
He built
father,
it, thank
his
you.
father and uncle built it. He was 16 years old when they were building it.
Oh, okay.
And it was his building. He was
I
the
just
one
passed
who
by to
had the
Steve.
building. It was his.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just paid it.
So,
okay, so,
So I wrote a resolution and left it downstairs, which is not, very good for us. But basically, it says, the first item is to do the maintenance bond for $35,000. And the second one is to modify, to eliminate the interior landscaping and to allow the existing refurbished metal vents to remain on the building.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and what did you say in the parking area? There was no vegetation or what was there?
Oh, so the 2,
Yeah.
there was some planting here that's no longer there
Right,
because we
of
had
the
to go
turn,
up.
right?
And there was a little bump here.
Okay,
Well,
no,
we
but there was
actually-
nothing in the parking.
Nothing.
No,
Nothing in
no,
the
no.
parking lot.
So
Yeah,
there-
we knew that was a problem with the trucks to begin with, so we didn't have that.
So it's
But-
this zone.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So there's this corner, which is
Mm-hmm.
that dotted area there, and this little appendage on the island here,
Mm-hmm.
which is the
This
size of his
this
trucks. He
radius
can't get
actually
in
comes
there.
out further now, so it actually, it's just, we changed the radius of it
Mm-hmm.
and put the vegetation back further as opposed to having that little bump out that.
Yeah, so you
the
widened
person
this
that comes off the
area.
trailer was gonna hit
It
it.
was
Go
widened,
right over it.
Yeah.
so.
What do you have in your driveway there? I'm curious. What kind of material do you put down?
You guys made me do asphalt.
Asphalt.
Yeah. I would have rather have done like a nice
Gravel.
stone or gravel,
Yeah.
but it
This
was.
is all stone.
That's
coming
all
up here.
stone, that's natural
This is
stone going
natural,
all up here, and, but,
Beautiful.
no, we're very excited about it. It's-
Should be. You should be.
We need to get open.
Yeah.
When is the grand opening?
When is it, when are you trying to
I'm
open?
just waiting for,
It's just waiting for me.
when you get there.
Come on, Clay.
You'll be coming in at 9:01 tomorrow.
The season is here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The
So
spring
our-
is here and everything.
So our motion is to approve approve the modifications to the plan
And the maintenance bond.
and the maintenance bond of 35,000.
Same resolution.
Same resolution, I wrote it.
Okay, so motion by Craig, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Now, don't forget the bond has to be accepted by the town board.
It's right
They
here.
need a- Okay.
So he gave me the bond already. What we do at this point is that if the bond's in good form for Christine, she looks at it in 5 minutes, good form, then it's pro forma, so we let the CO
Oh,
go.
you release it to your.
Yeah,
okay.
so as long as we have that money,
Yeah.
the money.
That's it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys, I really
Thanks.
appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Good luck.
We gotta
Thank
find
you.
another building to do now.
Yeah.
There are plenty of them around.
I'll find me one. Take care.
We just
Thank
put one
you.
behind the cannabis place. That was the potato barn. That cannabis place, that used to be a potato barn.
Oh, was it?
Oh, really?
Before
Yeah.
it was a nightclub?
Before it was a nightclub, it was a potato barn.
Okay. Brenna, you want to do Corwith Red Barn?
Yes.
Is this just a draft report?
It's a draft
Okay.
pre-application. Pre-application report.
Hey, Mary Jane, good to see you, stranger.
Hello, Jane, how are you?
Yeah, I thought you retired.
I
I haven't
thought
seen
you
you in
retired.
20
too.
years, it feels like it.
You wish.
Probably tried and then you had to get back into it.
I came because I heard that there was some grumbling at the public hearing, so I just wanted to make sure.
Always. Good to have
What
the
was
attorney there.
grumbling?
I'll say the name.
Yes, your name for the record, please.
Lisa Poyer, Twin Forks Permits on behalf of the applicant.
Mary Jane Asato, Brooke Flanagan Asato for the applicant.
Brenna, you want to give us a little?
Yes, thank you. This is the conservation opportunity at 140 Upper Seven Ponds Road in Watermill. It's a 5-lot subdivision, zone CR 16 in the agricultural overlay district. It's a 20.5-acre lot, and they've already preserved 80% of the farmland, or 16.4 acres. And we held hearings on February 22nd and March 14th, and closed with a comment period. And this is the draft pre-application report that we're reviewing and considering today.
It's all yours, Brenna.
Yeah, thank you. So again, it's a 20.5-acre lot, CR 60, classified all prime agricultural soils. This is the site description I'm going over. And it's in the agricultural overlay district, and the northernmost portion of the lot is in the archaeologically sensitive area. And that just covers, I can turn it on, but it just covers sort of around the Al parcel here. If you want, I could turn it on briefly, but it touches the top end or the north end of the lot. The requested action is, the application is for a conservation opportunity plan. They are proposing a 54.5% reduction in full yield. So it's taking it from 11 lots to 5 lots, and also preserving or preserved 80% of the subject area, with the town already acquiring the development rights. The surrounding area, to the south is an ag reserve of farmland, and that was produced by subdivision that comes around to the west with further. I don't know, with further preservation, and then similar to the east with another major subdivision with preserved farmland. That was funny. They didn't see it.
I saw the end of it.
Balloons on the screen.
Balloons.
I don't want balloons. Get away from me talking. There's the applicant submitted a standard development plan as well as a cluster plan, or in this case, a conservation opportunity plan. The full yield, it's, at this point, the easement exists, so the full yield has been submitted, because it has to be. But I could talk about it if you want, but it's the 11 lots with the proposed streets. But they have, that's not their intention. The reduced yield is the conservation opportunity, and that's the applicant's preferred plan. It's again 54.5% reduction of yield, so it's 5 lots. The average lot is 35,724 square feet. Lots 1 and 2, which are located to the south here, or to be accessed off of Winding Way, the cul-de-sac at the end of Winding Way. And then lots 3, 4, and 5 front Upper Seven Ponds Road, with lots 4 and 5 being flag lots, and lot 3 having direct frontage. As far as minor versus major review, since it's a conservation opportunity plan, it meets the criteria for minor subdivision. Secret's classified as type 2 action because, again, conservation opportunity subdivision. So no further environmental review is necessary. And again, the north end of the property is in that archaeological sensitive, so we're requiring a phase 1A, 1B report. Conformance with the comprehensive plan. In general, it's consistent with the town's comp plan in terms of preserving the agricultural soil and the scenic, the open space. The COS, Conservation Opportunity Subdivision, the plan meets the performance standards. It's no more than 10 lots are being created, preserves 80% of the parcel, and the total yield is reduced by a minimum of 50%. In this case, 54.5. Compliance with the town code open space. The site's in CR 60, so the minimum preservation is 35%, but in this case it's preserving 80, so it meets the open space law. The parcel's in the agricultural overlay district, so again, 80% of the land conserved and at least or minimum 50% reduction in density. For the park requirement, because it's a conservation opportunity, the most appropriate park requirement would be the fee. And later in the recommendations, I'll bring up the point about a trail and potentially that in lieu of the fee. Long Island workforce housing, this will be held to that in the code. Because the code calls for any subdivision of 5 or more lots. And they receive the density bonus from the town, so they could either set aside 10% of the units or provide off-site housing or pay a fee. As a preliminary option, we've been discussing any of those. Janice will have to have a final determination. So by the next report, I'll have that in here. The public comments were received on the February 22nd and March 14th hearings, and also written comments.
We're well aware of comments.
Comment period, yeah. Do we want to read through these?
No.
No, we've read them because we get them all.
Read them.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
getting all the emails. General opposition from the neighbors.
There was
safety.
some legal, alleged legal deficiencies or whatever in the letters from one of the attorneys. Is that being addressed? Has that been
The
reviewed?
legal
We addressed them.
We addressed them, it was resubmitted back to the planning department with the revised map, which is the notation changed
Yeah.
on the map, indicating the town purchase of the development rights with the easement deed and library page number here.
When was that,
And I-
2013?
2013, yes,
There were
2013.
2 corrections. One, which was material, was how we referenced the reserve area on the map, and we gave you the library page as well as the contract date. I believe that there was another comment, which was an allegation that the yield was incorrect because this transaction had gone through and the applicants had sold their rights to have 5 lots, and they could only have a yield of 2. We have, Lisa has submitted to you, and we can submit even the backup, but the dialogue between the CPF fund,
This is
which
the letter.
it reserved 5 lots. In other words, the consideration that was paid by the town did not purchase the right for these 5 lots. It was for the additional, to do the 80%, okay? If you look at all of those submissions, including the contract, which the town has, they reserve the right to 5 lots. So despite what was alleged, I believe that it was done without looking at the comprehensive file. The applicant has and reserved the right, and the town did not purchase the right to 5 lots.
Okay. Do you make any reference to the history in this report? The history of the purchase of the development rights?
Yeah, oh, certainly. Yeah, at the very beginning.
There were
Yeah,
some
under the requested action.
comments that certain deadlines hadn't been met, or things had expired, or I was reading
Well,
there.
we're
That's-
here back at the pre-app because those had, and so we had to start the process anew. So that is correct.
Okay.
You know, those, the pre-app was not renewed, it had expired, and therefore we're before you with the new application with new fees paid.
Okay.
There was a further allegation that we could not, that it was a totally different application because they had closed on this purchase and had given up the rights to, you know, have the number of lots that we're seeking. So we had to correct the record to say, yes, there was a partial sale of development rights, but not a complete sale. And it's replete throughout the town board resolutions, the contract, and all the correspondence between the applicants. And I was not the attorney back then, it was Wayne Bruin. He had worked for the town for a long time. He was also the attorney. I seriously doubt, when I was advised of this, that there was this opposition, I said, there's no way,
Well, you
okay?
wouldn't make a mistake, right.
There's no way that would have happened. And I certainly went through the record, and that was not what happened, okay? They expressly reserved the right to have 5 lots.
Which is what
Okay.
they're before the
That's
board
what's
right now,
before you right
starting the
now.
new application
I mean, starting a new
process.
application. So they were correct in the sense that the pre-app had expired. That's why we're here with you today. But they were incorrect that the applicants had received money from the town selling their rights to have these 5 lots.
Go ahead, Brenna.
For referrals, we sent it out to the fire marshal, fire district, the ag advisory committee, conservation board and trails, the town engineer, the watermill CAC, and the Suffolk County Department of Health. We received comments from the fire marshal, and those were pretty straightforward. I have it attached in the report. Talks about the, you know, conformance with the street addresses, the driveway compliance, and public service water mains and fire hydrants. The Ag Advisory Committee also responded. They're generally in favor, however, they do see that lots 1 and 2 interrupt the contiguity of both reserved parcels, and they're recommending that the development rights be purchased for those 2 lots.
That was our recommendation as well.
In
Yeah.
response to that, I have spoken to clients, as you well know, until the subdivision is done, we can't
Can't do
have
that.
have a dialogue with the conservation, with the CPF fund. So I've already spoken to the CPF fund. I am fully aware that they are interested, but as we acknowledge, the subdivision has to be
Process
completed
has to go.
before that can even be on the table.
Understood.
Correct.
But we are not adverse, the clients, I've already spoken to, they're not adverse to doing that.
Good.
And the Ag Committee also recognizes that it should be done simultaneously with the final finalizing it with the purchase, as well as me retaining or having the ag rights remain in the ownership of the farmer. The Conservation Board also sent in comments. They just recognize the drainage and the recharge basin as not regulated as wetlands pursuant to the code. And the continued farming of the tract is not anticipated to have any adverse impacts. And they support the PRD, or the Conservation Opportunity Plan. And the Health Department also replied. There's, you know, some items that that are required for them to submit. Mainly, they talk about the covenants and the buffer zone that's shown around lots 3, 4, and 5, and having the town, they would require the town consenting, a
Right.
consent letter for those
Let
covenants.
let me clarify this, okay? When this subdivision was done, the 80% was set aside. There was an oversight at the time that the health department required these lots to be of a certain square footage because of the zone that's in, all right? So, as I said, I wasn't involved at the time, but that's what really brought this subdivision application to a dead standstill, because there was this going back and forth with the health department and the planning department, and Jackie actually, now that's with the CPF, was spearheading this, and they couldn't get off of how to resolve this, all right? What I finally suggested, which they ultimately did with, is went to the health department, and we got a board of review to agree that if we consented not to fertilize here, this is the buffer, okay? But it had to be able to be farmed, okay? Because this is the struggle of the town wanted it to be farmed. Health department was saying, well, farming requires chemicals and nitrates, and they don't want that. So the compromise is we are going to buffer this area with language that says that you cannot use fertilizers in this area.
And will it be farmed?
Yes, it doesn't prohibit farming, and, well, the farmers, whoever's farming this will have access to this. There's no prohibition of farming, in other words, right? We refuse to put a prohibition. The health department accepted that, but that in this area is no use of nitrates. Now, practically speaking, I spoke to the farmers that are involved, and they said, this is really where you're going in and out. They don't plant crops there now as it is, but it has to be able to use for agricultural use. There can't be a prohibition, which we're not doing, all right? The health department gave me specific covenant language. As you may be familiar, you have to put a covenant on board of review, and I submitted that language to the planning department. Claire and Anthony have looked at it, and because it didn't prohibit active farming, they said it was acceptable. The health department, however, wants official acknowledgement from you that you do not object to this buffer and that you do not object to that language. I can submit it again because I had submitted it last year so that it could be forefront of the file, and that's what that comment is about, that the Board of Review has granted, subject to this covenant. I didn't want to be the chicken and the egg because there was no pending application. Now, once this is, if you should adopt this pre-app as revised, I will send it to them as well as the proposed covenant with the language that they've requested.
Do you have that information?
I do not, no.
Okay.
I will send it to you again, not a problem.
And we could put it on for.
The only substantive comment we received involves flooding
Yeah.
of lot 13. That's his lot, but
Yeah.
he made us aware, your plan doesn't involve, but if you look at the contours, it becomes apparent that you're placing two of those bottom lots at the bottom, at the low spot of the property. And what happens is especially true in, March, the ground is frozen, you get these heavy rains, and it's almost like the water hits, it's almost like concrete. So we want to make sure that these lot owners don't berm or somehow undertake a mechanism to divert that water to these residential lots. They're going to have to accommodate that whole groundwater, and they can establish, yard drains or yard.
The lot
but
owner of 13.
Typically, this lot owner is going to put up a berm, and when the water comes funneling down that field, it's going to hit the berm and go into lot 14, maybe even spill over to lot 13.
So
Yeah, 13 came in and he said that there had been prior, that he'd
Yeah.
notified the.
Correct, and that they had back in
built a-
2013, built another berm.
They built a berm to
Right, which
help.
helped to divert and stop some of the water. But I think a lot of his concerns was the fact that the water runs through his property and then backs up on the street, which
Yeah.
goes more in turn with the town and the recharge basin, and he said the catch basin wasn't big enough in the,
Yeah, but that's
in the
not your
street as
concern.
well.
Yeah.
have
But
to
we can
address-
we can do an easement that there's no
Well-
berms on the property.
Unless you
That-
can somehow
that-
channel the water
gets to be the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
It's like, one, you're not allowed to change the natural contours beyond a certain point. I mean, the town already has regulations,
Yeah. For
as you're aware,
development rights, yeah.
and this is all flowing this way, that this is an issue. And there's already laws that say that you have to keep your runoff
On your lot.
on
Right.
your property.
Your runoff.
But your runoff. But the issue is gonna be that there's a lot of runoff from
Farm
other
to
people
farm.
coming on to these people as well as these people. And I really don't know the perfect answer for that.
Well, these lot owners can make accommodations to retain that overflow on their lot, but they just can't, we want to make sure they don't establish a berm on their lot to divert the water on to the adjoining residential
I
lot there.
think you have the
Can we
solution.
just
Put
do an
on
easement
it.
that says we can't put a berm on
Right.
either of those two properties?
Right. It's, you know, it's
I mean,
always,
it ultimately may end up in the town's hands with the
all-
development right purchase.
Well,
it's
but-
always a challenge with farms.
Beyond that, it's going to be also an advisory covenant on at least that one lot, basically advising them that they're subject to field runoff, and they should make provisions
A notice
to
to the deed.
accommodate that runoff.
Yeah, I know.
And I tell you, it comes.
Well, there's gonna be a notice covenant, but only reason I'm hesitating about the berm is they're gonna say, we don't want the water from here, okay? So I can't burden these properties and say that they have to, because the water isn't from them, okay? So, can we give us some, I'm
Give
gonna
it
talk
some
to our
thought.
professional
Talk to your
engineers,
people.
and I,
I just don't want it to send it to
yes,
the residential lot.
I understand. You're saying, look, you're getting it here, but you
Yeah.
can't create, it's like, you can't create a diversion so it goes there rather than to you. There has to be a comprehensive solution here.
Something.
Yeah, so,
Your clients are putting the lots down in the low spot, so it's,
So those are the
you're
lots
making
that
that
we're
decision.
recommending
Anyways,
go
to be-
away.
You're not
I
making
mean,
that
yeah,
decision.
this was,
That's, they're recommending to purchase these lots
Yes.
anyways.
Two lots,
anyway,
go
so
away.
let me,
Figure it out.
let me speak to those who
Okay.
know way more than I do about, but these are the lots that are supposed to be purchased anyway.
Correct.
So let's,
Okay.
that may,
You're right,
let's,
yes, that's
let's,
the two lots.
but I'd like to speak to our Drew Bennett, our engineer, as to if,
There are ways to control
Yes.
that water.
so,
I mean,
and it's way above my pay grade, so that's what my answer
But
to.
there's also a lot of water coming off a farm field
The
to
farm
come in
fields.
on a residential
Yes.
So,
property lot.
so,
The farm, and that's a massive farm.
Unless you left a swale, you know, undeveloped, they
Way
go,
up
continue
goes-
going
Yeah,
down.
you
so-
can see There's
But-
agricultural land just south of there.
That's south of there, and that may be, the thing is that if there's gonna be, there's gotta be some diversion, if there's diversion, it has to go here rather
Yeah,
than,
rather than-
here,
That way,
so.
correct.
The North
I'm-
Fork, the North Fork farms handle a lot of that.
Yeah,
well.
I'm going to speak to our professional engineer, because just talking about the slopes and stuff right now is like, it's not my forte, and I'm,
Yeah.
I understand, you know,
Okay.
Katrina, we should
Intellectually,
get some
but-
language alerting in the pre-submission report.
there- notice
advising
covenants for these, definitely.
That,
Right.
that lots, what are we calling them, lots?
1 and 2.
One and two
That's up
on the low spot
Flooding.
of the property, and as such, should make provisions to handle runoff from the field, so as not to divert the water to adjacent residential lots. That allows them to send it out.
Yeah,
to the-
I would like you said to say it's not the residential lots.
Yeah, that allows you to send it to
It might just be
the southern
maintaining
lot.
the existing
Yes.
natural flow.
Yes, the natural,
across
all right,
Yeah,
so,
okay, so,
okay.
give it some thought.
We'll come up with,
All right, if you figure it out, maybe you
Yeah.
can patent it and tell the other farms.
Put a solar
Because
panel
it-
there with it.
well, you know what it is you can't, they're not gonna be, they can't divert it to the residential lots or the road that's here
Right.
that's servicing the residential
Has to
lots.
go down.
But
It's gotta
they
go
may
further
have to
south.
put drainage structures as well as
Yeah, or
somehow
some swale.
to deal with, and have it go further with a natural
Yeah.
flow, which is, you know, in that
Do
direction.
your clients have control over the southern piece also?
No, but related,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it's all
farming
family,
it
it's all-
together, yeah.
Okay.
collective farm
I know.
families, yeah.
So,
So that
Brendan,
brings us to the planning issues. The COS plan meets the intent of preserving farmland and the design standards for the COS or conservation opportunity subdivision as in the code, and it's encouraged by the master plan. Therefore, it's recommended the applicant proceed to the final application stage. On the next page, I commented that site design alterations should be further explored to counter the drainage and flooding issue which impacts lot 13 of the Garrett Associates map on Winding Way, which is the lot you were just discussing. And it's recommended that the applicant further discuss with the engineering division, highway department, and planning division to alleviate the flooding experienced in heavy rain events. And for the recommendations, I have in here for item 1, the board prefers the PRD or the conservation opportunity map. Item 2 is single common driveway access points serving lots 1 and 2, which are the southern lots, and lots 4 and 5, which are fronting Upper Seven Ponds Road. Lot 3 has its own frontage, but I further discuss that at the final stage if you want that to have sharing the flag with the other 2 adjacent lots. Item 3, this is an item for discussion, but you've already said it at the top of the meeting or the discussion. The planning board supports the comments offered by the Ag Advisory Board for the town to purchase the development rights of lots 1 and 2 after the subdivision is made final. I could keep that in there if you're okay with it. Okay. The next item 4, we still have yet to receive comments from the Trails Advisory, but I have an item in here since the last report and their last comments from 2013. The applicant considering a trail easement or a dedicated trail corridor along the eastern boundary of the reserve, and possibly considering that link as a means to satisfy the park fee requirement. I don't know if we still want to keep that in there or wait to hear. This is a draft, so we could wait to hear. There might be any comments about it.
A trail is here, is not
I don't
really,
think it's gonna work,
it doesn't,
no.
yeah.
We can remove that.
Oh, working farm.
Doesn't connect, it wouldn't connect to
No,
the
yeah,
other
I
trail.
think that was like a discussion from then, and I kept it on here for the sake of.
Yeah, it's part of the report there. Yeah.
It's interesting, the county, Suffolk County has a whole thing about, not drainage per se, but include highest expected groundwater or specify as not encountered and under test hole.
That's something they typically require
Yeah.
to figure out for sanitary system
Uh-huh.
for highest expected groundwater.
And, yeah, they note that on all of their.
Yeah. Okay, Prima?
We have the.
You have it.
the groundwater.
Item 5, it's regarding addressing the existing drainage and flooding problem.
Right.
Which we
were
just
talking
discussed.
about.
We did that.
Yep.
So I'll change that language. 6, compliance with comments and recommendations from the town engineer. 7, we haven't received comments yet from the fire district, but saying the applicant shall contact the fire district regarding their requirements and conform whether or not public water and hydrants will be required for the reduced COS plan. 8, the applicant shall show easement in reference to agricultural reserve that's preserved by the town, acquiring the development rights on the final plat. 9, lot sizes shall include calculation with and without the areas of flag strips.
So, wait, just going back to 8, we've just completed that, so should it be taken
Yeah,
out?
I wanted to leave it in there for the
Okay.
sake of, for the final plat. The applicant, it was recently submitted on the 17th.
Right.
With a description on the reserve, so I could take it out or I could leave it in if the board is comfortable.
Yeah, we
I'm
actually
just-
put the library page and everything on there, so
Okay.
I think that should
Well, you
address
could
it.
take
with-
it, take it out.
Take it
Yep.
out. Thank you.
So we're
10.
9 is fine, okay.
Okay. We're at 10, right?
Yep.
And you,
Yeah.
the IA
The on-site
systems.
wastewater treatment, it's now required for all
Yep.
new home construction.
Mhm.
11, phase 1A and B archaeological report covering the proposed lots 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
Because it's within the sensitive area. And the areas of the preserved land and the lots not within the archaeological area do not need to be included in the study. Final application must include Suffolk County Department of Health approval. And lastly, item 13, the applicant may proceed to the final application stage by submitting a final application fee, final maps with health department approval, and all requisite materials outlined under the subdivision chapter 292, 20, 31, 34 of the code.
We have no other objections to any
Okay,
written
great.
comments.
When you solve the drainage, you can let us know.
I could,
We'll give you a degree.
no, I'll patent it.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really good
Thanks.
seeing
Thank
you.
you, Mary.
Good to see
Adopting
you.
or is this draft?
Adopt the motion to
Oh,
adopt.
yeah.
Motion to adopt by Dennis, second by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Great, thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
no,
seeing.
I don't think we're gonna adopt it. This is
Oh, it's
free
draft.
to issue.
Can we adopt
Do
it?
it next time.
Yeah, we need to get final determination for the workforce housing. I'm waiting on some comments. Technically, I suppose I could adopt it, or the comment period's closed.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I
closed on
think
the
we can
12th.
adopt it. Why couldn't we adopt it?
You could,
With the pre-
but you just
this-
don't have the, you know, we're trying to
Final
get these
comments.
Yeah,
to
but
you twice.
May
because
9th was the
this is
date.
big one, but you could.
I mean, you're not going to revise it that much, are you?
No, I mean, if we get comments, I'll add them in as attachments.
But is the comment period over?
I mean, not comments, referral comments.
Oh, referrals, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
then
fine.
I'll get the final determination in before,
Yeah, you
when I
can
send
leave
it
it
out.
in the report, you could leave it prior to, you know, final.
prior to site plan.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
fine. Final submission?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
So where were we? Dennis, you moved it.
I moved it.
George, you seconded it.
Yep, we voted.
And we voted 5 in favor, 2 absent, so we're done.
Great,
Good to go.
thank you.
Thank you.
Olaire, Atlantic
Oh, thank you.
Hotel.
Yeah, thank you, Ron.
Atlantic
Great.
Hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, 80%.
Wanna pass it down?
I know. Not many.
If any.
There's one
What?
preliminary
Yeah,
plan.
keep that.
Keep it?
Keep
Okay.
it.
Yeah, because we can get some out.
So this is the latest and greatest plan with this. There's
Okay.
the 11 by
Latest and
17.
greatest, revised, made smaller.
Another one. My hands on
Go.
the word.
Did we get it?
The paper.
What are you giving me?
What's it on the paper?
I couldn't find the big print.
Yeah.
So this is, don't adopt this report.
No.
We don't have the comment period closed yet.
Oh,
But
This is a draft.
it's a draft. That's a draft. But I wanted to go through it. You had some questions, you know, we had a work session. There was the hearing, there was no comments, so I don't anticipate them. But I just want to go through some of the issues with this. They have revised the plan. At one point, it didn't have any vehicular access off to Shrubland Road. That's been changed. So there will be like an access around the property, and then the interior is where it's gonna be more walkable between the facilities. So that's that. It is existing 64 rooms. They're going down to 49 units. 59 units, oh my gosh. 59 units,
From 64?
yes, and that's for the health department
That points
purposes.
out one of the language comments that I had, is that if we could refer to them all as units,
Yes.
as opposed to rooms versus units, because
Yes.
the code talks in terms of hotel units.
Yes, and so I think what they're saying is that some units will have like, you know, a loft or a studio, and other things will just be a room, you know, if it's in the facilities. But
Correct.
there's gonna be a variety of types of units in this site. So I'm
And
gonna
we'll-
change all the
we'll-
language to
We'll
units.
detail them, right? Each unit, you'll go
Oh,
through
yes,
an
yes,
inventory.
we will.
Yes. It's on, actually on the plan you're looking at.
So there was a pre-submission conference on March 28th, no public comments during the conference. And to date, there's been no comments, but we have to wait till Monday for it to completed. site plan application has to be submitted with the full engineering. It's a redevelopment of the entire property. So the issues that I have to date, and that's why I brought it to you too, is just make sure we get them all. I described the application. So in the use portion, the hotel is a pre-existing non-conforming use in the zone. So they are maintaining that use. They're not increasing the square footage as far as I've been verifying to date. If they did, they'd have to go to the zoning board of appeals. They're also proposing a 70-seat restaurant, which is going to be accessory to the motel. And since they're not providing parking separately, a restaurant is a permitted use in HB, but they're not providing anything separate in terms of parking. They're saying it's accessory to the use. I would say that have to be a covenant in this case.
I mean,
Yeah.
how are you gonna police that?
That is
not
difficult. It could be a problem. And then the spa is a personal service use, not person, but personal service use, 729. We just want to verify that with the chief building inspector, because it's not like spa in our code. It's just personal service use. And what does that entail? I think spa falls under 729, but let us verify that.
You can check with Shabui, the spa on 27.
You mean
In
Wabi Sabi?
Watermill, yeah.
That was a change of one non-conforming use to another.
It was a farm thing, and then it went into
Yeah,
that.
that was the zoning board of appeals application to
Okay,
change it to the
all
spa
right.
use, so, yeah. It is type 1 action, and I know there would be some traffic questions about access and things like that. I'm not quite sure, would you want a traffic study, traffic analysis? What would be appropriate to
Traffic
these?
study, I mean, it's a key area with a tremendous impact.
But I know it is a hotel right now, so is it
What does
a
it have,
matter?
one building, two buildings, is it occupied? I mean, there's nothing compared to this, nothing.
Well,
What's there?
we would argue 2 points that I think should take into consideration. Number one, reducing the number of units. But to answer your first question, yes, it's occupied, and yes, it's used, and it's fully occupied in the summer, as you might imagine. But we're reducing the number of units, so that's automatically, I think, a reduction in traffic. But equally, if not more important, by creating this destination setting, we're reducing this interday traffic that would, you can't get a ham sandwich there now. So, by providing these amenities on site, we think we've reduced traffic even more.
Yeah. I just want to raise the issue that the county is doing a study on County Road 39. And we have no idea what recommendations they're going to make, but we need to be mindful of them.
And
This is
one
the
of the
whole-
things that was discussed at the
Traffic
mitigation, traffic safety committee meeting a couple of weeks ago, and will be pursued, the next meeting is May 1st, next Wednesday, is the idea of making sure that the consultants to the county have access to any and all of the traffic impact studies that we're doing along this corridor.
Right.
And I assured them we would certainly, be glad to let them take a look at anything that, we were asking for. And I assured them that we were looking at all these developments very carefully along the road.
Yeah, we have a few.
So,
Do they have a date, Tom? Did they say when the county is going to issue its report, or?
no, I think it will be some time. I mean, they're out, I think now taking traffic count data at various locations and things like that, but I don't think this is gonna be, and this is just my opinion, I don't think this is gonna be a quick
Right.
project. I mean, they've hired a nationally known traffic engineering firm to work on it. I think it's gonna take a while, but
But we should be aware of it in terms of
Yep.
the traffic impact of this, because how many cars are we talking about? What's your estimated number of cars are going to be circulating?
69 in this case.
69
Well, it's the
cars.
parking.
The 69 is the parking.
Yeah.
We've already reached out to both the county and the state to ask them for all of their traffic data. So we've already made that effort.
And I've been pulling some stuff for something I'm going to present to the committee next week, which I'll certainly share
Good.
with you folks. It's all
And we
publicly
have
available
retained a
data.
traffic engineer as well.
Yeah,
So
I
we
mean,
can
I do
provide some
think,
analysis,
you know,
of our position.
the the turning, you know, and I know you had Ron, no, who was here last week?
Walter.
Walter Dunn, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Get him and Ron Hill always mixed up. But,
I don't know which one that's good for. but-
that's right. But, you know, I do think you know, looking at the, you know, the basic volume estimates, the turning, you know, stuff, the thing that still bedevils me a little bit, and I don't know what exactly the answer is to this, you know, the access to shrubland, I do think is important. I guess these will be earth pavers in here or some kind of thing. It's not gonna be
Yes.
paved asphalt, I know that is, how much, are we still gonna get a lot of cut through? Which, again, I don't know that anybody can answer that question or not.
I'd hazard a guess no,
Right.
because of the way that we've laid out the circulation
Right.
on the site. It just doesn't lend itself to, like now, it's just a
Right.
straight
And
shot.
most
They come
people
in and
will
you-
think they're driving on grass if they cut through there, you know, if these work the way they are.
But people may hesitate to drive on grass.
Right. But I think you're right, you've done kind of everything you can do to discourage it, and I do think the access on shrubland is an important, you know, for a couple of reasons, you know. I think the fire safety people, you know, always like that, and, but I think, you know, looking at what your consulting firm would project volume, looking, you know, at accidents in the immediate area.
Right.
You know, you don't need to go all the way up and down County Road 39. I'm as certain as I can be that this consultant to the county is going to be looking at that. As I said, I'm pulling some basic traffic volume data, which I'm going to be sharing with people next week. But I think you should do something to, you know, as I said, you know, measure what you expect the traffic generation to be,
Mhm.
I mean, the
turning
elephant-
movements.
The elephant in the room here is a restaurant.
Hmm?
The elephant in the room here is a restaurant.
The restaurant is
Yeah.
for on-use,
The rest-
on-site only.
Parking.
Outside only?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
people
so the
people
residents
are
only.
not going to comply to that. They're going to hear, oh, that's a great restaurant, and they're
Yeah,
going to
right.
go. And what are you going to do, turn them
How
away?
you, how do you?
True.
You know, we have to
How are you gonna limit
anticipate this.
I mean, that becomes a destination restaurant.
Yes.
It could be,
Well, you know, if that were to be the case, we would have to provide the parking.
I was just saying, you don't really have the
But you
parking
have no
to
parking indicated for
accommodate
that.
a whole,
No, we don't have any identified right now. We did, we do believe we have room on the site for additional parking if we need it, but it's just not contemplated as part of this plan
I
because,
think that's the role of the covenant as well, is to
Yeah.
control that.
Well,
And
I
if it does
guess-
get out of hand, there will probably be some authority in the covenant to allow something to be done about it.
Like what?
Well, enforcement on the one end, and
But that goes so far.
How- yeah,
out
how do
here.
you stop
How do you
somebody
stop
from
it?
stopping?
right. I mean, checking
I
if
mean,
they're.
there
See
was
your
a-
room key, please?
there
Right,
was-
right.
there
Or you
was
can
a-
only charge it to your room.
A
but-
small restaurant in Bridgehampton, and I mean, and on the weekends in the summer, people were parked all on the road.
Well, maybe it's a limitation
Up
on
and
the
down.
size of the restaurant. Maybe
The
70
size.
doesn't make sense,
No.
and maybe it's more 40.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 59 units,
Mhm.
Thank you.
right? Units. I mean, 50,
Appreciate that.
you know, maybe you say it's a 40-seat restaurant.
59 units
which would
with how many
generate
rooms?
17 parking spaces, and they can accommodate it on the
59
property.
rooms.
So-
59 units with 59 rooms.
Yeah.
So each one is like a studio.
Studio, some are a
one
little bit
bedroom.
bigger, and one has a loft on top, but it's all open. You have the detail of
Right.
each of those different bungalows.
Right.
But that can accommodate 4 people, and a sleeping loft, and a bedroom, and a studio, and so that's not 1 car, but maybe it's 2 cars.
Yeah, I mean, we
I
did,
mean,
I think we were looking
yeah.
to, and like there weren't pull-out beds or anything like that, but
It-
I think that was
It's
discussed.
in my mind, I mean, I really grapple with this because it is packed. And you can just anticipate that parking is going to be an issue.
Well, to respond to that, I would say, number one, we're meeting the code because both in unit count, actually exceeding the code, and in square footage. So, you know, right now, you say it's packed on the site, it's actually way spread out. Right now, you have these 2 high-density 64, 32-unit buildings right next to each other. What we're doing here is just opening this whole site up so that the use is really number
You're
one, less.
telling me you're opening it up. You've added a pickle court, you've added a pool, you've added a pond. You've filled in the center of this map.
No pond, that's a lawn. And we have 2 tennis courts and a pool now.
I think the coverage is very comparable.
Your coverage is,
No.
yeah, I think we're at
Just spread out
13%.
over the land as opposed to
Yeah.
concentrated.
I
You
think if
guys
the-
are in love with tennis court number 8 here?
It's
But
pickleball.
that's pickle?
Yeah.
Because there's parking there. That's the big concern here. You have one extra car on a fully occupied site going to that restaurant, and then you can have chaos over there.
I think, in this case, the fact, and it looks to me like the parking will be very tight, but if I was an outsider who wanted to go eat in the restaurant and I couldn't find a parking space, I wouldn't come back.
Well, I think the bigger issue is if someone went to the restaurant.
Right, that
while
solves
someone
the
else was
problem.
out and come back to their room, and now they can't park it to get into their
Right,
room.
and I think the
Well-
proprietor is gonna hear if
Yeah.
they can't get back in their parking space for their room.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's gonna be an internal control issue.
Right, but that'll
Like the tow
discourage,
truck.
It's
the owner will then not wanna have people pulling in to eat there if they're taking parking spaces, the
So
people
the
that are
owner will
staying.
take steps to meet the
That's-
requirement
I
that
just-
it's only for on-site.
That's what I'm thinking.
guests.
Yeah.
I don't see the pickleball court as the vital cog in this application.
You'd be surprised.
Well,
Well, don't you
these-
think that you're sacrificing the parking for the restaurant at the expense of the?
Well, I think we're
Okay.
providing the number of parking spaces that this site requires based on the limitations that we're suggesting that would be imposed.
And I think what we're trying to do is not have extra parking, right? We're trying to keep.
Right, now, under the guise of this lot looks full, well, it's gonna look even fuller if there's more if there's more asphalt.
Yeah, but you're not giving up anything. You keep adding stuff. You've got a 79-seat restaurant, is that what it is?
70?
70 or 72, or something to that effect.
That's a decent-sized restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if people come to that restaurant from outside, which they will, there isn't a place for them to park.
Well, that goes to the entire discussion. If there's nowhere for them to park, they're not gonna come.
Well, and I think the
They'll
more
park on
important point
Shore
is that if the guests of the hotel are complaining because they themselves can't park on the place that they're destined to want to be at, then the operator of the facility is going to make sure that there's no extra people. Because he's not making money for the 5 extra folks that may come to this restaurant. He's making money off of getting somebody to come and stay and use the pickleball court and use the pool and go to the restaurant. That's where he's making his money. So if the parking
Can
from
you restrict
outsiders.
the restaurant to people that are renting the rooms?
Yeah.
Is the question.
I think we already agreed to that.
And when you look at, the fact that we have 59 units and it's a 70-seat restaurant, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, that's not,
It's like
it's not
one
as
and a
if we're
third person
creating
per-
capacity that is far beyond what on-site is gonna provide itself.
I
I mean,
just
if we're
see-
doing a
I see-
120-seat restaurant,
I just see the
would see that point.
potential for conflict here, that people that are probably ill-equipped to deal with those conflicts will have to deal with. Mainly, you have to leave the restaurant because unit number 8 can't park, right?
No, these are sophisticated hotel owners.
Yeah.
They're here to make money, and I think the way they make money is servicing the people who they've invited to stay on the site. And if people from off the site are interfering with that, they will figure out a way to make sure that it works.
I mean, you can't take a different approach and say, I'm gonna provide, 100 extra spaces in case people come to the restaurant, because that's always encouraging.
Well, they don't have, first of all, they don't have the space. Where are they gonna put them, on elevated parking? You don't have the space. And what is the access to shrubland? Is that happening or it's not happening?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And what happens if I drive in and I park my car and I'm staying in unit 1? I gotta walk around if I'm handicapped?
No, there's parking adjacent to every unit.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Um,
Are these little cars? Is that what I'm looking at?
Little indents there. You see the islands of the trees?
These?
Yep, and islands of trees and the parking is in between.
Like this area, these dark brown areas.
No,
No,
it's
it's
the gray
these.
area right there. Yes, you're pointing
It's
to it.
this.
Yeah.
There's parking in front of each unit for residents
Yep.
of each unit. so-
Yep. And we did that, quite frankly, at the recommendation of the
Did we-
board.
Yeah, we
Talk
did.
about it.
I mean,
And by the way, thank you, because I think it makes the site work a lot better. It takes away the, any conflict between the pedestrians and the vehicles, because now that, you know, you don't have pedestrians crossing any traffic lanes.
And your hatched area is the circulation around.
But that's fire access.
That's
also.
fire emergency access.
That would
yes.
be the grass pavers or something that a fire truck can drive on, but something that does not appear to a user to
like
be
a
a
road.
driveway that they can circulate around the site.
Yeah.
Think about where you're gonna put the electric car chargers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
They're
definitely
coming on
on our
every
plan.
site plan now.
I'm sorry, show that?
They're coming on every site
Yeah.
plan now.
Yeah, and that's right up our alley.
Yeah.
There was a comment from Walter the last time when we asked about looking to move the entrance to the
Mhm.
east. And, you know, he commented, and I see his point, that when you offset the entrance from that versus the street across the road, it actually makes it more dangerous.
Yeah.
But I see that's on the plan. How is that going to be resolved?
No, we're not proposing to move the entrance. We'll have
I see
that
the
amended.
plan that you have
I
right
think he
now.
showed one that was just a little farther east.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah, but we're gonna.
This is, I think, the existing location.
Yeah, this
Is
is
it?
the wrong, this is the wrong. page.
Yeah, I think he showed an alternate where it was just a little farther
Yeah,
east.
in the back. You can see the original. He's moved it slightly to the east.
I don't think we intended to move it at all.
Yeah, we don't intend to move it at all because it really creates quite a dangerous situation.
And I think Walter's opinion was that it's safer
Yeah, it is. When you
that
offset
way,
it.
as opposed to
Right.
offsetting them wrong. And
Yeah, this
people are
is
used-
slightly offset,
People are
so
used to that
so-
entrance now, so.
It's slightly,
Right.
it's slightly different, so.
Yeah.
This is the preliminary.
We'll fix that in
I would go with his judgment.
next submission, yes.
Okay, so, let's do this systematically. So it'll be a traffic study. They should
This one here.
do accidents in the immediate area. Also traffic counts for the shoulder season and the summer, right?
For spring and fall and.
And/or
June
fall.
and July. And-
Yeah, or, and,
Yeah,
or,
and/or.
yeah, or.
I'm sorry, were we talking about
But not August.
talking about the traffic
You'd be lucky
study?
if you can get out of that in August.
Okay.
To what extent can we, I mean, my clients will do a traffic study if that's what this board wants. What I would like to do is we would do a traffic study, an actual count this spring, but we'd like to use the state and the county data in our analysis as opposed to waiting until July to do another study.
I don't know when those will be ready or what.
They're ready now. The county collects monthly traffic counts.
But we haven't had a chance to discuss this, but I'm going to share with Jackie and let her, if I can find it, share with everybody the counts by month, which I have generated, if I can find it. Because we did want to discuss this, and I'll throw it out now. This is on, not on County Road 39 exactly, but just west of County Road 39 on 27. At the Peconic overpass, the Peconic Road Bridge there, so it's about a
Yeah.
mile west. There is a permanent traffic counter installed by the state. It's the only one in the South Fork, so I used to use it, and I've used it now for this, which
Learn something
counts
new every day.
total traffic, east and west,
Wow.
365 days a year, 24/7. I took the data for 2023, broke it out, split it out by month, because we've kind of been having this discussion about when's the typical time, or when do we want to ask folks to do this. So I'm sharing it with you, Jackie, to look at. I don't know if you want to read it off or just use it to give it some thought. The volume numbers and the percent by month are on that sheet. And
God,
the
it's-
two,
It's
huge. It's the same, I have two copies of the same thing, one on top of each other on
Just
there,
it
Jackie.
steadily increases, you know?
You have to kind of share it with the rest of the board.
I can read it.
Become-
I only have one
Yeah,
copy.
and we can make copies.
Want me to read it?
Yeah.
Well, we'll make some, can you make some copies for us, please? It steadily increases. But I mean, we're talking 51,000 vehicles a
Base-
day.
Yeah.
Well, average.
That's July,
July,
August,
yeah.
right. About 11% of the traffic in July, 11% in August.
Yeah.
We'll see the numbers, but May and, as we've always kind of wondered or
Yeah.
thought.
We didn't wonder, we were
May-
living in the
May
middle.
and October are really kind of your typical, right, because we live it. So we have a pretty good
Right,
idea.
it's always so funny when a traffic consultant says, no traffic impact. They'll look at this and say, no traffic impact.
Right.
It's like defies reality.
Well, you and I will disagree on that.
I do, I really, I mean, I'm not speculating here, but I look at this kind of condensed site plan and based on all my years on the planning board, know that it's going to create a big problem. And the person who's behind it, I mean, the owner of this property, who wants to develop a high-end resort, is that what he's calling it?
Hotel, we're calling it a hotel.
Because it's not a resort per the definition of the
code.
Of the code,
So it's a less than a
is,
2-week,
I think will be challenged
But there is a
because of
valid
its
point.
location.
There is a
Yeah.
valid point about having these amenities on site.
Yeah.
In other words, people don't have to drive to a spa, they don't have to drive to the
Right.
pickleball court, they don't have to drive to the restaurant. They'll, and kind of that's the trend now in resort
Yeah.
estate
You
park.
go there, you stay there.
Right, you can hang out at the pole and listen to 51,000 cars drive
It's-
by
it's-
on County Road 39.
That's the
Well, I
buffer.
venture to say we
Yeah,
won't even have cars.
The other,
Take Ubers from the city or
Yeah.
wherever, plop down and.
Yeah, the other thing is, you know, everything that you have in Concord will have an impact, but the
Yeah.
question is when you change, you have the same use, but is it having an increased impact on what's there? You know, so you have a, vacant piece of land that you're doing a subdivision or a new commercial development, yeah, then you have traffic impact.
Both, yeah, you're welcome. Both charts are the same information.
Thank
I
you.
just-
Thank you.
I duplicated my slides there.
Oh,
but
gosh,
it's the
you can
same
read this.
Same information.
You need my glasses, Laura?
I need silver glasses.
Read whichever one you can read better, because it's the same.
Okay.
And this is just the county, Tom, right?
The-
This is just the county traffic counts.
This is 1 mile west of County Road 39 on Sunrise Highway. There is one on-ramp and one off-ramp between where this traffic is counted and where County Road 39 starts. So,
And this
I-
is collected by New York State DOT.
Right, right. So I will not say this is accurate,
where
to whatever
Oh, New York
degree
State
in front
DOT,
of the, the hotel, but I think it gives us an indication of the overall traffic volume and flow and seasonality. You can, if you're going west, you can get off at the North Road, or at the exit onto North Road going west, and coming east, you can get on at exit 66.
But the reality is that.
But that's the only difference.
The large majority of these vehicles will continue from
Right.
onto
Yeah.
39.
I would say
or
it's-
come
the
from
real
39.
I would say it's
Not-
95% accurate.
There's traffic there, obviously, but there's lots of traffic there. But the real question here is, how will our use change or impact that?
Right.
And I think that Aram's argument is, the twofold argument is that we've reduced the capacity a little bit, and we have made it more inclusive, so that by
Right.
any measure, and hopefully Walter will be able to tell us that in more traffic engineering kind of terms, that our impact on that stream is reduced from
Right.
what it could be with the use as it presently is constituted.
Yeah, this was
That's really
really,
the question.
I developed this, compiled this, basically because the board has been discussing, when we ask for traffic impact studies, what's the best
Best
month or
to do it.
months to do it?
And this is traffic in both directions?
This is, yeah, total. You can get it east and you can get it west, but I'm not digging that deep right now.
We're gonna let Walter do
We'll
it.
leave that up to the consultants for the county, I think. But I think your point is well taken, and one of the things I don't know, just if we've discussed or not, is the idea of sidewalks in front.
Yes, there are sidewalks.
There are already,
Yes.
okay, good, okay, just wanted to,
I
again,
remember you asked that and I looked it up.
okay, good, good. The less people have to get in their cars, the better.
I'll mention that.
We looked at cross-access?
Yeah, I just want to finish the idea
Yeah, go
here.
ahead.
Oh,
So-
what do you want? Do
Right.
you want, is spring counts with the supplemental information of the counts that they can get from the DOT and DPW sufficient, in this case? I mean, obviously, May is already at 45,000, right, or 40?
43, June goes up to 47, July is 51. So June, July, and September.
I mean, 8% would be pretty much your exact average month. 8 times 12 is 96. So
So that's not
if we
May.
look for a month around the 8% mark,
So April, May would be May.
right.
More important,
Well, May's next week anyway,
I
so.
think we need, rather than focus on the traffic count, I think we need the traffic engineer to provide the board how the restaurant will exacerbate the existing
Yes.
traffic
Yeah.
and how the on-site amenities may mitigate the anticipated traffic. And that's kind of a function of the engineer.
And I think
rather than
Walter is very
focus.
anxious to communicate that too, because we've had
Yeah.
a number of discussions with him about that.
But I think Claire hit the nail on the head. We're gonna have to look at seating in that restaurant.
Okay.
How many units are there currently?
64.
64 currently.
How many buildings? Two buildings.
Two buildings.
Two
Very
full
large
buildings.
buildings,
Yeah.
Yes, there it is.
There they are.
Do you know their average occupancy? Like, are they
I don't.
Typically fully rented in summertime?
Oh, yeah, in the summer, they're like, 92% or something, but they, I'm trying to remember what they told me. I'll have to look it up, but, right now, well, now is nice, but, in February, they had people staying there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the people using it as housing,
No.
Not in this case.
No.
There's not history
I
here.
think across the
of
street.
that. Yeah, not that I know of.
So, and I'm sure Walter would do this and knows this, I think if he were to do the accident analysis and crash analysis, and maybe you want to wait for the state, or I should say the county's the one doing it, but the commissioner wasn't really specific about exactly when all this data would be available, and I think it's going to tend to be later rather than sooner, although you're welcome to call and inquire. But if Walter were to do it or somebody else were to do it, I think, you'd want to do the standard 3 years' worth of data. Now, we have found, and we're kind of getting out of that window, but 20 and 21 were atypical for COVID.
COVID, yeah.
But we're getting close enough or far enough into 24 that you could,
2-3 years of good data.
yeah, you can get, again, your person may look at that and say, yeah, 20 and 21, 21 was out of whack. So 22, 23, and as much as 24, it's 3 years of standard, but again, I think maybe defer to what the engineers say in this particular situation.
I think at 21, people with cabin fever were all in their cars, just wanting to get out of their house for a little while.
Right.
Well, we lost the.
Oh, shoot.
See how nice it's gonna look?
Right?
The mountains.
Oh, yeah, you can log on, that'd
A
be great.
field of heather.
I just don't.
Cross-access plan.
Cross-access, they're providing future cross-access to the east. So that's 6, archaeologically sensitive area, so the area that they're gonna develop, there is, right now, we saw the aerial, some of it's disturbed now, but there's some lawn and things like that, so they should do the archaeological in that area. Groundwater, I'll put the groundwater management zone, I think it's 4 in this case, is it 4?
I think you're right.
Okay. And then it's 3 IA systems on the site total. And he gave me the gallons per day too, I'll put that in there.
So is this gonna be one of those mini systems?
No, 3 separate.
3 separate IA systems accommodating all the flow on the property.
Hmm.
And then the parking, that's the parking. Here's an interesting thing. This is the only instance where I have seen where employees aren't 1-to-1, they're 1-to-2. So you have 20 employees and you provide 10 parking spaces for them. It's very
Well, all 20
unusual.
people don't work all day. I mean,
No.
a Couple of
per-
shifts.
It says on the shifts.
Oh, okay, so this is.
So it's
Question.
very weird. It's not our normal employees are like people come
Yeah.
park their car. So, that one I'm a little bit funky on in terms of motel. It's the only one I know of.
There's no employee housing. I mean,
No, and not anymore. I think there was a mention of it, but it's not anymore. So that's one's interesting, and of course, the restaurant, obviously, you have some concerns with the parking for the restaurant, so I'll mention that. Architecture, I think you like it so far. It's good, it's natural material, cedar, standing seam roof, so.
What
they-
about sustainability?
I have mentioned it
Solar?
below on 14.
We have a whole list of sustainability, the
You have
EV
solar?
chargers, the solar, I've got a complete write-up on that. You know, I read the whole climate action plan, and we are plugging into each piece of that.
You're gonna have solar, you think?
I don't know that for certain, but I believe it.
Okay. You believe.
I do. And we've been talking about it, you know, obviously, this is, nobody's drawing architectural plans until we get the site plan worked out. So we haven't gotten to those details yet, but it's certainly in the mix.
Well, let me update this for the next meeting, and then I'll put all the comments in, and I'll give it to you way ahead of time so you have it.
Thank you.
If you want to give me some
Thank you.
comments.
And then we could, at that point, make a final decision on what the timing of the impact study would be? Is that? Or did we?
Timing of the
To do-
traffic study?
right,
Yep.
right.
Yep, I think so.
Can we think
Yeah,
about it
that's
till then?
important.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because this is probably the most major application that we have on County Road 39.
Right, well,
The
Liberty
office,
Garden.
the medical building.
Building
is-
by the Burger King.
Well, Liberty.
Liberty
Right,
Garden's
Liberty.
coming.
That's
It's not here yet.
One disaster after the
Yeah,
other.
right.
This is not a disaster.
No.
This is a good thing.
No,
Pickleball.
Yeah, well, just with regards to sustainability, one of the things that is in the County Road 39 plan and in the climate action plan is reuse existing sites. And that's
Right.
precisely what we're doing, so I think
But you're
we,
tearing down the buildings. You aren't reusing them.
well, reusing the land, in other words, not clearing new land. I mean, that's what it says in the plan. I'm not interpreting it, I'm quoting it.
But they also talk about reusing buildings. I mean, we just had that beautiful barn that was restored, the potato
Oh,
barn.
yeah, really cool.
That's
But
restoring and
we don't want
reusing.
to save these buildings.
Dormitory.
So you're clearing them and you're starting from
There's nothing
scratch.
sustainable about these buildings.
So we'll have it on for the next meeting, and I'll give it to everybody ahead of time so you have it.
What's the date of that?
That's the 9th.
May 9th?
Yep.
At 2 or 4 or 6?
Yeah, well, who
There's
knows?
a big agenda today.
I'm always last. The next one, CVE, is,
Thank you very much for your time.
Sorry.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
and then the next one, CVE, I'm tabling it. I gave you the draft report.
Yeah.
It'll be on the 9th and the 23rd for discussion. I do need an extension. The applicant has asked for an extension of the action deadline till May 23rd.
Okay. Motion by Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, extensions, 5 in favor, extensions. 5 in favor, 2 absent.
I'm
Uh,
absent.
I am too.
So, talk about more traffic. Charas, this is not my problem.
Yeah, you know, we have, let me just say something here. We have a very constrained quorum on this board right now, and we need to be aware of that. So I'm aware of time restraints that you have for applications, but we also need to be aware to not be putting major applications on when we have limited boards.
The problem is,
I know you have time restraints.
we have deadlines.
I know that.
The 9th, they're not here.
Glorian is
And
not
there's only
here.
4 members.
Kate is not here.
I know.
There are 4 people.
So 9th, we have a quorum.
Yeah.
I have to be out one of the meetings in May, so I'll check that.
Well, the 23rd is the same issue, isn't it?
Well,
Which
Craig-
one
The day
was
I'm on
out on the
vacation.
23rd? George?
Craig is out.
No, I haven't mentioned that.
I have to, oh, okay, I have to check, I think there's already 3 out if we, I don't know when he will return, but we have 2 out with Kate, so we might have 4 out for one of them. I'll have to check that.
4 out, we don't
No, you don't have a quorum.
Right,
4
I
out.
have the mailing,
See,
didn't I?
I'll talk
Yeah, I
to
got
you,
it already.
and then
I worried that I was.
I'll make sure we.
Greg, Gloria, and Kate are out on the 23rd. You want them?
No, I have the mailing one, I need to
So
post
George,
it.
What about June? Do we have any?
Don't you worry, I got it.
Not that I know of.
There no-
There's one
nothing
in
in
July,
Nothing in June, are you at?
But,
Just the 23rd.
And maybe I'll be off the 2 in June then, but I need to have some, I'm just
Yeah.
looking.
Okay.
I'll always make sure we have a quorum.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
The
That's
9th and the
fine.
23rd were
If
very
who's here and
tight.
who's not, and when they're here and when
Four
they're not.
members.
No.
So just
Unless
put me
Kate
down for
reappears
both
some one
dates
of
in
these
June,
days.
I won't be here.
Or do you-
I don't know, but, you know, what happens is that you don't really have a robust and full discussion of the full board on important applications. And that's very unfortunate.
It's tying our hands. I'm just gonna say it, it's tying our hands, Kate's not
So
here.
we need to change the code over deadlines.
I love that idea. It's my favorite idea.
What was the idea?
Deadlines need to be longer.
Oh, yes, no.
This is not my application, but I know you've talked about this. This is Charos.
So when we were last here, Carl
Here.
Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway for the applicant.
The memo the applicant has provided.
So when we were last here, we gave Mr. Neely the traffic study that we had conducted at the end of August. And we also had a supplement to that study done based on data conducted by the New York State Department of Transportation. This temporary count station was located on Montauk Highway at Scuttle Hole Road. You familiar with that one, Tom?
Yep.
Okay. So based on the counts from the New York State Department of Transportation, Nelson and Pope determined that the traffic density in May and June and April was significantly less than that in August. And accordingly, the traffic study we had presented should be sufficient for this board to use in determining the traffic impacts of this proposed development. I would remind the board that it is a medical office. It's not really a high-density sort of use in an area that has already been thoroughly vetted for traffic at each stage of its development. So we would simply ask the board to consider whether this supplement is sufficient for the board to consider the traffic impacts, and if so, waive the recommendation in the pre-submission report that we conduct a full springtime traffic study, again, the cost of which exceeds $25,000 and would be quite difficult for my client to bear.
Tom, how do these numbers compare with the numbers that you just?
Well, what I
distributed?
have seen, and I did pull Watermill just east of Scuttle Hole. Now I'm showing 2022, it may be 2023, I'd have to check that. But one of the things that you see from going, call it the western end of County Road 39, into Watermill and into Bridgehampton, the number I see that I have is 24,000 vehicles, and I think that was taken in June of either 2022 or 2023. So it's not quite half. It's a little more than half the volume that you see on 39.
And it's double his Nelson Pope's numbers.
I'm not following, I'm sorry.
Where's their numbers?
The numbers.
He has 2 counts.
AM peak hour,
He's got 2 different locations, yes.
well, he's doing 1 hour. The number I just cited is
So it had the
24,
permanent
is
station?
24 hour, is
Yeah.
a 24-hour number.
And that's still at,
It's 8 to 9 and 4:15 to 5:15, which are the peak hours that we were concerned about for the
Right,
trade parade.
right.
Table 2 is the permanent station you mentioned on 27, and Table 1 was the temporary station at Scuttle Hole.
Right.
So it captures the traffic from 27 at the Peconic overpass you mentioned through to Scuttle Hole,
Right.
and compares it against itself in Table 2 and against the August study that we did. And as you can see, the analysis resulted in AM peak, there was a 15% difference in June as compared to in August, and 9% difference in June as compared to August, 15 in AM, 9 in the PM rush hour. And over the course of looking at the various months from May to October in '23, you can see in August, the AM peak, you had 300 plus more cars during that time frame than you did in May.
Right.
And, about 100, almost 200 more in the AM rush hour than you did in May. So the difference in the morning was 200 plus in August, and in the PM was 300 plus in August. And again, based on that real data and that analysis, we would just submit that the board has sufficient information to consider the traffic impacts.
And your
of this
traffic
event.
numbers comply with, did Nelson Pope get them from you? Or
No,
they
Nelson
had-
Pope did their own analysis
Right.
and are comparing it to the state's numbers.
And how about your numbers? How do they, your $25,000 traffic study, how does that align with?
Well, they're looking at peak hours. The number
That's
I
what
just
this is.
cited is a 24-hour total.
We did a
So-
$25,000 study that came up with these numbers, and now the board's asking we do another one for May.
And I think this gets to the question of, and this, I don't think this is a seasonal business, medical is not a seasonal business to me, but do you want to do them at the peak, the worst traffic times of the year, or do you want to do them at the most typical traffic times of the year? So peak is August, which you've covered. Most typical would be, as we just looked at, April to May, or September, October. And we could have that discussion, but what I was gonna say is, although these are hourly numbers, and I totaled up what I brought in is 24 hours, these numbers look, and if they're taking them off the DOT website, I'm sure they're citing them correctly, these do look like the numbers I was looking at when I was looking at, Watermill.
Yeah.
My feeling is, if we have it for the worst time of the year, we're in pretty good shape. The fall, again, you'll see some differences, and you can get into traffic backing up, that can happen going west in, both September and in August, all the times. You can get into that, but, I tend to think that if we have August data,
That's the worst.
I don't know what exactly we're gonna learn by getting October data or getting April data, at this point.
And it's very expensive and time-consuming. You gotta wait 6 months to do
Right,
it both.
right.
So-
Yeah.
So what we're saying is he doesn't have to amend the traffic, you don't have to do a
He's done
supplemental
summer
traffic.
counts.
We did the summer counts, yes.
Right,
Okay.
and this is helpful to see, and, it's nice to have, but it's not gonna, again, looking at it is not gonna change
And
what you've already
this knowledge
presented.
is out there, so maybe in the future, if the board has these concerns, you can ask that they do it on site analysis and then include the state's numbers in there on a monthly basis in that, so you'd have the year-round numbers.
Yeah, I think you're right, there's, I don't wanna go too far into it right now, but the reason I did what you just saw the tail end of a minute ago
Right,
is that's the only place where there's counting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Scuttle Hole that, Nelson and Pope used, we're fortunate that they did it.
Yeah.
If it was 23, like I said, I think I looked at the 22 data. I didn't find the 23 data, but those are only up for, a short time every couple of years.
So how do we-
You happen to hit a good time.
Yeah, he was able to get 2023
Right,
data
right.
for May and June.
I was looking at data today for some other roads in the town for what else I'm working on, and, the most recent counts are 2019. It's like, that's old, So it was good that they were able to find this.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So-
So where are we?
So are we amending the pre-submission report, or? No.
I think.
We'll take your word.
We agree, right?
Yeah.
Summer counts, okay.
Okay.
ahead.
All right, so we'll submit for final.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for waiting.
My pleasure.
Who's been waiting here, the golf club?
Yeah. The golf club. Okay.
Number 20, Atlanta Golf Club staff housing.
That's just, no, this is Noyak.
This is the Noyak.
Oh, the Noyaks.
Number 12.
Clubhouse
Edition, there's a draft resolution. We're considering completeness,
And setting a public hearing, right?
and the applicant, or I'm sorry, Tony Ponza is here to request a waiver of the public hearing on the grounds of its distance from the lot lines. Tony, maybe you'd like to speak to that?
Come up, yes, give us your name, Tony.
Yeah.
Tony.
Tony Pan, Rogers Mechanic Architects for Noyak Golf Club.
Yep.
Good afternoon. I like how you always save the best for last. That's
You're welcome.
The project is quite minor. It's two small additions onto the existing clubhouse. I have 11 by 17s of everything. I also brought aerials so everyone can see. And you'll see on here the distance to the two lot lines, 490 feet or so, and then about a quarter mile going the other direction. The additions are 480 square feet and 840. One of the additions is an expansion of the kitchen, because currently they have items that are stored in kept outside and in other locations. So we're trying to pass that one down there. So if you look on there, you see the clubhouse, and then there's two very small orange additions. One on one side, which is away from the neighbors. That's the one that's closer at 400. It is wooded between them. And then the other one is much further. There is no sight line. And for the plans, if you wanted to see what those additions are, the one addition to the kitchen is just extruding out the end of the building. So there is a, sorry, let me get you there is, on this plan here, what's shaded is the existing building, and what's not shaded is the addition. So there's an addition over here, and there's an addition over here.
Square footage?
480 and 840. And this one here is basically for the kitchen. It's walk-in boxes and other storage areas. There is currently a single door in this. It's a shingled building. There's a single door in the end of the current building. We're going to extrude it out and keep that single door. So there's nothing just adding on to there. And then on the other end, we extend the roof out, we extend the building out, and there's a 20 by 20 room which has the buffet set up in it. There's some.
It doesn't impede your walkway there between the two buildings?
It does not. Leaves room there. Within, there's perspectives, and sorry, I shouldn't be holding on to these, but.
We'll pass them out.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you got one more?
Yep. Sure. If you flip to R101, it can just give you an idea of the change. Towards the back, it's the colored images. And what we've provided here is that on the top is the existing, and then on the bottom, it just labels where the addition is. And so on the other, and then on the next page, it's the same thing. We're just taking that portion and just extruding it out. So again, on the top is the existing, and on the bottom is the proposed. Not looking for any change in intensity of the use. It's just if you were in that existing kitchen, you would know it.
Why?
The original
project, I don't know if you remember, it was actually designed by a residential architect that didn't really know much about.
Jaffe? Did Jaffe?
No, that was the clubhouse that was taken
Oh,
down.
okay, right.
There was,
Roger Ferris,
no, it was a gentleman out of Sag Harbor that was a residential architect. And so the kitchen is just,
Tiny.
it's too tight, and in order to have proper separation of protein and vegetables, it needs space.
So that, and you may have said this, but the side where you've got, looks like some sliding glass doors or some big windows, that's like an addition to the eating area? Is that what that is?
Yeah, the bar is over in that location, and it's just trying to get, the buffet space is inside the building, and we're trying to give a little bit more breathing room to the buffet space.
Gotcha.
I mean, the one issue that we ever had from the public was when you put in that, I guess it's here, which
Yeah.
faced the houses, it was the supply and the dirt.
Supply yard.
Supply yard.
So under the last application, if
Yeah.
you recall, when we put in the part of the turf care, we were doing the
Yeah.
environmental systems and the changes. We did a lot of plantings under that, where we came to you, and I think we did something like 40 trees and a bunch of undergrowth. And you currently, that's all been done, and you currently have a maintenance bond for
For that.
that work. And we haven't had anything from the neighbors.
Good.
So as you can see from the plans, they're in compliance with 33183. I have all the necessary information here. I don't think I would add anything to that discussion, except that they'd have proposed adding new stormwater drainage dry wells for the increase in the roof lines. And that the parking doesn't change because it's still 18 holes, and the parking's dependent on the number of holes. So, no additional staff was required according to the application.
So it's complete
It's-
and waiving a public hearing with a 30-day written comment period? That's
The
what you-
public hearing was the applicant was hoping to waive it?
Yeah, we're waiving
I
it.
think
Oh, you
so.
are, I
Yeah.
misheard.
Yeah,
Okay.
30-day
I'm
written
saying,
comment.
30-day
I'm
written
sorry.
comment period.
Fantastic.
So, moved by Craig, second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully you're not around too late tonight.
You never know.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay.
Loaves and fishes.
Are we gonna have time for my
Tell you, they always do nice presentations.
I told you.
Oh, no, 13.
Put some financial All right, what are we doing?
That was approved.
We wanted,
Number 14.
13A and 15 Summit Boulevard.
Yeah, sure.
13A and 15
Summit.
Summit Boulevard.
This is a pre-application for a subdivision and also a lot line modification.
Thank you.
We're considering completeness. The application is incomplete, but I can go through,
If it's incomplete, we're running up a time.
yeah, we could save it
crunch.
for next time and I could go through
Well, if it's
everything.
just incomplete, yeah,
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 yep.
okay, motion to deem this incomplete. Motion by Craig, second by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 4 in favor, 3 absent. Let's do loaves and fishes.
Yeah, so that one is, I think I lost the applicant. So Loaves and Fishes is complete. That's the one with, there's a pre-submission, and it needed the zoning board of appeals application. Loaves
Oh,
and Fishes.
yeah.
Next to Bridgehampton Inn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is complete.
Jim.
It is ready to schedule a public.
We haven't had a public hearing on this yet?
Oh, you really have. Yeah, you have to have, I
Yes,
think
no,
you should
no,
have.
no, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but it is to deem it complete, schedule a public hearing for June 13th. This is the third one, right, on Monday?
This is the third
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Third one, okay. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by George, second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 4 in favor, 3 absent, deemed complete.
And then 18 is an extension, 90-day extension of submission of plans.
An extension
Motion.
for 90 days. Motion by
Second.
George, second by Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 4 in favor, 3 absent.
And then
What did I say?
You're done.
Midhampton.
We'll be here.
Midhampton.
Midhampton, yeah, miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous. Oh, I have to.
And then I have to sign that stuff, right?
You do have to sign the stuff. So Midhampton is this, on 2 sides. This is where
Thank
I
you.
brought it to the board on the 28th of March, and you didn't
Oh.
really like it. So.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
So,
Yeah.
okay, these are extras.
Pull this up. This is the village of Quogue. I guess they're doing a change of zone. 8 Midhampton. As an existing, industrial property that's like using the entire property, for storage and,
Is this
Yeah.
the three,
Sorry,
10,000
Yeah.
square foot?
yeah, so on the second page, you can see the 3 buildings and the parking proposed.
Mm.
And their secret form said it had no impact on traffic, which I
Oh.
think is what we said, it's gotta have some impact on
Yeah,
traffic.
so, based on those comments that you had for that meeting, I came up with, these 3 items, and we can add to them, or we can put them in different order. I did say the design with the establishment of buffers on the roadways and the residential uses are appropriate. Concerned with the impact on traffic from the uses and the associated 255 parking spaces, and concerned with the impact on traffic with the adjacent intersections. Investigate increased traffic control such as stop signs and signal.
I'd put the 2 concerns first,
Okay,
and then the design third, so that
They stand up, right?
they can,
yeah,
Get it.
they know, yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Anything else?
what about lot coverage, Claire? Is this violating lot coverage? I can't read this.
Is that gonna be an issue for the village?
Yeah, this is in there.
Yeah, you can't read that?
No, sorry, I
Read
can't
with
read.
glasses. It's impossible to read, Claire.
It's even smaller than my traffic count thing.
I can say, you want me to, I can probably get it from the, oh, you know what, hold on. Let me see if I can pull it. The problem is, where did I save it? Oh, look at that. Found it. Oh, man. Sorry.
Can you just zoom in, there's a section.
Yeah, let's see. Is it on the right, you think?
No,
Well,
it's a good question,
um,
Claire.
I don't know. Actually, hold on.
Claire, do villages require secret?
To the left, right there, lot coverage.
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There
Lot
were-
coverage, right. So building is, they say it's 3 point, oh no, hold on. 19.9. So there must be 20% for building. They're right under the 9, right?
Oh, of course, it's
Yeah.
like 999.
Yeah.
Well, there's an issue with lot coverage. I think we should say lot coverage should be reviewed.
I'm sorry, lot coverage should be what?
Reviewed, examined. Or lot coverage may exceed requirement.
Yeah, I can say that.
Okay.
No, that could go
Sideways. Any other comments on this?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Got
can
it?
do that in that order. I'll have the traffic first, the lot coverage, and I'll have that last statement about buffers.
Right.
and I'll transmit it to the village. Okay?
Okay, so motion to adopt the referral by George, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 4 in favor, 3 absent.
And then you're gonna sign the plans.
I'm going to sign the plans, which are acknowledgement of
Atlantic Golf Club.
Atlantic Golf Club. I'll acknowledge those. And motion to adjourn. Motion by Craig, second by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 4 in favor, 3 absent.
Best friend, go grab me.